Hey everybody, and welcome to the PC Gamer Show. My name is Tom Marks, assistant editor here at PC Gamer, with James Davenport, our intern extraordinaire, and a couple of very special guests. We have Chris DeLay and Mark Morris from Introversion Software.
Hello,
how you guys doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Good to be here. Thanks for hosting us.
Yeah, we love to have you. So we have a great show today. We're going to be talking about my adventures at TwitchCon and kind of Twitch in general first off. And we can also kind of jump in because you guys were at EGX this past weekend. Is that right?
Yeah, so we were over there.
We can talk a little bit about that if we have to. If we have to. I didn't mean to put it that way. That's the wrong word choice.
Wow.
Welcome. Welcome to the show. Please leave.
Please shut up. Just never talk.
Then next we'll be talking about early access games, which I imagine you guys have a few thoughts on after 36 months in early access. Yeah. And then we'll have our regular weekly Catfantastic quiz, which will be a cryptically hands-on Team Fortress 2 themed quiz this week, which I think you guys will enjoy.
Not looking forward to that one.
Then we'll be talking about kind of kids adventure games and kids games in general, how they may have shifted based on an article we did on the site a couple days ago. And then finally, talking about VR, Oculus Connect 2 was this past weekend, so we'll be talking about our hype or possibly lack thereof, depending on VR. Then finishing off the show with our regular Twitch chat Q&A and a hands-on demo of Prison Architect with the final build, which will be coming out next Tuesday.
That's
Is that right?
A week today. Yeah,
Yeesh.
not long at all.
Coming up.
Not long at all.
You know, I gotta say, I've been on the other side of the screen for so many of your guys' alpha videos. It's interesting to hear your voices in person now.
We get people that come up and recognize us by our voices.
Yeah.
You know, they go, oh, hey, you're Mark, right? And you're Chris. It's like, yeah. I don't know what we look like, but...
Well, they're very distinct, I think. But let's start off first with what we're playing recently. James, what have you been playing recently, man?
Oh, man, quite a bit. Last night, and I won't go into detail because we've talked about it. We have plenty of coverage on the site for Vermintide, but we played some rounds of the beta.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Warhammer End Times
Yes.
Vermintide is the full title, which we talked about. We had Liam O'Neill from Fat Shark Games, the developers, here last week talking about the game.
Pretty cool game. Killing lots of rats. Otherwise, I've been splitting my time between Undertale, which I think we have a review going up very soon if it's not up already. And do you guys know anything about this? Have you heard the hype about Undertale?
No? Tell us.
Yeah.
It kind of came out of nowhere. It's developed by one guy, I believe, Toby Fox, and it's kind of this weird amalgamation of all of these old JRPGs and Earthbound, and it kind of, I don't want to ruin it because that's part of the experience is seeing how it kind of subverts tried and true and maybe tired tropes of those games. It subverts those in an interesting way, and it's charming and funny, good writing. Just read the review when it comes up. I have
Too much for right now.
It's hard. I want to talk all about it a lot. It has some really interesting combat that's kind of like mini game platformer. It can change into anything at any time. It's so bizarre. Read the review, maybe watch some footage. Just check it out is my recommendation.
Some of the bullet points, I just brought up the Steam page, some of the bullet points are become friends with all the bosses, at least 5 dogs. You can date a skeleton. Now there are 6 dogs. So it seems like a fun game.
It's interesting. I just go in, don't read too much about it or watch too much about it. Just hop in and play it. It's like $10. Otherwise, I played last week. I played a bit of the new Witcher expansion that's coming out.
Oh yeah, you were in here and you came away from that with Gwent cards, physical Gwent cards.
Physical Gwent cards. Wes and I played one match last night, and it seems to be pretty cool. He was really excited about it. I went through the whole game without playing Gwent because I'm not gonna play,
I think what the video game industry really, really needs right now is another collectible card game.
Oh yeah,
I don't feel like there are enough.
Yeah,
that's a genre that's not been fully mined.
Well, I always thought that The Witcher 3 was a collectible card game, just with a monster hunting mini game, right? That's more how I saw that.
In full 3D.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have to explore a massive world.
Mini is a relative term, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got physical Gwent cards. They're neat. I think we'll have something up on that, just kind of short and sweet, and sometime soon. But Hearts of Stone is the new expansion. It's the smaller of 2 planned expansions. It's pretty much narrative based. It adds some new locations to the existing map. So you're not getting a new area to explore, but you're getting some new locations on the map. And the inspiration for this, when I talked to them, they said it came from the long, character-driven, kind of focused quests from the main game, like the Bloody Baron. If you played any of The Witcher, you know that's probably one of the better quests in the game. And it seems to be playful and fun, and it kind of, it's not beholden to the original game's, save the world quest. It can be its own independent thing, so it gets a little more playful and funny and weird, and has some room to stretch its legs. It's hard to say what the rest of it'll be like, but I came away really happy with it, and it's like $10, so
Cool.
It's gonna be cool. October 12th. Otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much the bulk of what I've been playing. Otherwise, I've been complaining about having to do more FOB missions in Metal Gear Solid for a thing I'm writing.
We're putting you through the ringer of FOB.
So far, the moral is that I'm bad at those.
You know what, man? Some interns have to get coffee and lunch. You have to get your butt kicked.
It's not that bad, is it?
An intern at PC Game has got to be one of the best internships in the world. It can be too hard.
Damn, I got to play this game for so long.
Yeah.
I got to complete every extra mission.
Well, Mark, what about you? I imagine the answer for both of you guys is going to be a little similar.
Yeah.
Prison Architect.
Yeah.
In dev mode.
Absolutely. I mean, we're in crunch,
right?
Which is kind of unusual for Introversion. We've had this nice run, 36 months. We got into a nice rhythm, a couple of weeks' work, to do the updates, maybe more, but but like 2 or 3 weeks. But it was all nicely controlled.
It only takes a couple of weeks.
2
to
weeks
do an
on,
update.
2 weeks off. And then, but because we've, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but we've been working on these big features, these big upgrades in the background. We've had to get the alphas out as well. We're a week out now, and just managing it has been crazy. It's just crazy. It's exciting and fun, but absolutely nuts. And I don't think I've played a game now for about 4 months, something like that. We've also got small children, Chris and myself as well. So, they don't go to bed until like 8 o'clock. So, it's just, and you're just like passed out on your bed, just put some food in and then, go to sleep. So
Just do it again the next day.
basically, that's what it's been like.
Wow.
That's what it's been like.
Dang.
But when the light is at the end of the tunnel, 6th of October, week on Tuesday. How many times can I mention that?
I know.
In today's
Once
That's
more, I
number one.
If you come away from this episode of the show not knowing when Prison Architect releases,
right. That's right.
you haven't been paying attention.
That's it.
I finished the game on the plane over here to San Francisco.
No way.
We
Wow.
were all locked down, and the guys back in the UK think that they'd done the Gold Master. And on the plane over here, I added another scene to the game, and then packaged it up. And when we landed, I sent it over to them and said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, we're just gonna have to do another whole round of testing for the entire game, top to bottom again."
So was that just out of like boredom on the plane? You were like, I'm just gonna make this
No,
game bigger right
I was
now.
thinking about doing it, and it was something that I didn't have time to do. I didn't have time to do it before we came over here, and I really wanted to do it, and I'd accepted that I was not going to have time to add this scene to the game. But then I was on the plane, and I thought, you know what, I've got time to do it now. I've got 10 hours to pass, and that sounds about right.
So for the people who don't know, what is Prison Architect?
Oh yeah.
Let's
Please.
kinda retrace our steps here.
So let me give the terrible description, and then you guys can follow it up with the real one. It's been in early access for 36 months now, and it's
a long
you
time.
build your prison, and you have to either keep your inmates happy or make money, depending, I guess, on your outlook on life, right?
Yeah, choices. Happy money.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a prison building, like, I hesitate to use the word simulator because I feel like that word is overused nowadays, but
I think, unfortunately, I think it's accurate. I think it's an accurate description of it. It is. That's exactly what it is. You start off with an empty plot of land. You've got a bus full of prisoners that are going to come in about 15 hours. What do you need to do? Well, you need to build a holding cell, so they've got somewhere to stay for that period. A lot of players forget to build a fence around the outside, right? And of course, a couple of the prisoners will run off escape, and then they'll go, "Oh yeah, I remember. This is a prison, prison, right?
Right.
Where people don't want to be." So once you've built the holding cell, then you've got to build a cell block to put them in, showers, canteens. If you think about Dwarf Fortress or Dungeon Keeper or Theme Hospital or SimCity, and then you think prisons, you know what this game is about. It's a lovely one to be able to talk about because communicating what Prison Architect is about takes about 10 words, you know, and we're done. Whereas you look at Introversion's back catalogue with some of the stuff we were peddling in the past, wow, that was hard stuff
Build
to
and
sell.
manage a prison.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
did the same for Darwinia.
Yeah, no, I can't. No, that'll take 90 minutes to explain.
There's this guy, Dr. Sepulveda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long ago did Darwinia come out now?
2005.
Okay.
It was one of the first games I ever owned on Steam, actually. I
Wow.
was 15.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
crazy.
Wow.
Damn
yeah.
you.
Yeah. Just done some maths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. That's a decade ago now, a long while ago.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I'm. It's interesting to hear that you were saying you're crunching now after, you know, like you said, 36 months of just kind of taking your time and doing it at your own pace. That's kind of crazy. That must be a big
I still
transition.
find time to play games. I had a very, very serious Dark Souls addiction for months on end. Actually, I actually started with Dark Souls 2, and then and completed that, and that's like 80 hours of work right there.
Yeah.
And then went back and played through Dark Souls 1, and so I've kind of done it the other way that most people. There's a lot of Dark Souls 1 is better business going around. And for me, Dark Souls 2 is the one where I started and the one that I always go back to. So I managed to fit that in somehow. It's not as bad as Mark makes
2
out.
weeks on, 2 weeks off. That's when he works. That's when he works.
That is a
He
game that
works
demands
when
time.
Chris built an office at the end of his house, right, where he works, and no one else is allowed in there except by appointment, you know, so we don't know how hard he works. And he's put a camera up there.
That's where I play Dark Souls.
That's what you play
and make prison architecture during the day.
You've probably got like another Steam account, haven't you? That none of us know about.
Was that the like little shack thing you showed on Show Us Your Rig a while back? That little
that's right.
It was a really like I'm trying to pull up the link right now to show to the Twitch chat. Like it was a beautiful little house.
It's really
basically.
nice, actually. I like to work alone, basically, for as much time as possible. I got kicked out of the house because we had a second child, and I used to work in the house in one of the bedrooms, and my wife just basically said, "You know that office that you've got upstairs? You're not going to have it in about 9 months."
Is that how she told you?
Basically, yeah. That's it. Oh, by the way, you're also having another son.
Yeah.
That's the order it's coming in, and so I had to build an office. I had to have somewhere to work.
Yeah,
but it's really nice. It's really customized to me.
Cool.
And and it's full of Valve VR equipment now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
well, we
hanging
can
off all the walls.
we can talk about that a little later when we're getting into VR. But personally, I actually just got back into Heroes of the Storm. I took about 3 months off of that game where I was just like, and like kind of lost steam on it. And it takes so much time investment to get into a MOBA nowadays. Like literally, I told this story at TwitchCon to a couple people, but like I was installing Smite. I had the launcher. The game was installing. I got to the account creation screen. I typed in the name I wanted. It was taken. When I pressed the first button, it was like, that username is not available. And then I had a moment where I was like, I'd have to learn an entire new item system, last hit timing, ability ranges. And then I just uninstalled the game instantly.
The next 3 years of your life flashed before your
Yeah,
eyes.
exactly.
And it was you in front of a computer.
Right, and that's
in the center lane.
and that's nothing against Smite as a game, right? It's such an investment to get into that stuff.
I mean, that's crazy. You know, Chris talks about like what he calls the shelf level event. You know, and that's when a game does something so bad that you take it out. It's kind of from the old days, you know, and you put it on the shelf. And you never play it again, right? And from me, you know, the thought that a shelf level event could be that name is taken, you know, it's like terrifying because that's it now, right? That was all it took, right? that time, it's like a piece of tissue paper in front of your mouse that made you go, oh, I can't be bothered. That's the most frightening thing I've ever heard.
It hasn't done them any harm.
The funny thing about that though is that wasn't like even the reason I didn't want to play. That was just like the thing that made me think about like the implications of it, and I was like, oh god, it just felt like the world landed.
Don't feel
on my
guilty.
shoulder.
I think a lot of modern gamers, air quotes, like feel guilty, or like I feel guilty not being into an MMO or some kind of esport, but. For most people invested in those games, that's like what they dedicate most of their time to.
Yeah.
And so it's okay.
Also,
you didn't find your username.
They can be amazingly unfulfilling games when you first play them as well, because you not only are you repeatedly annihilated, but you fall off the curve so quickly. Your whole team hates you because you're the one letting it all go wrong.
Right.
And you know, in how you meant to learn the game when you spawn and then you die 10 seconds later, and over again. It's such a minimum level.
And then someone tells you to uninstall because you're terrible at the game.
Yeah, And they're right. Everything they say is true. You are terrible at games. But it's like, you must have been terrible, 400 hours ago before you started playing.
Yeah. Well, let's move right along. Let's jump into it. I wanted to talk a bit about what I saw at TwitchCon this year. And you guys can definitely talk about what you saw, if you saw anything really interesting, intriguing at EGX. The main thing I wanted to say was, and I'm going to have a preview on the site about this tomorrow, is I got to play Paladins, which is ironically Hi-Rez's new game. As I was just saying that I couldn't comprehend playing their other game, I'm now touting their other game. But Paladins was actually, I had a lot of fun playing it. It was the first time they showed it off in North America, which is more relevant to you guys not being from North America. But and I was really interested to get my hands on it because it's a first-person shooter that has a card and deck system where every time you level up, you build a deck of like 15-ish cards, and every time you level up, you are given an option of 3 of those cards, and you pick one, and that's like your stat boost or your ability boost or stuff like that. And it was surprisingly fun. It worked surprisingly well. Even though I was trying to explain it to James
like
at
the burn
lunch.
cards. It's like the burn cards concept.
Well, I don't know that.
Well, you just get a series of burn cards that will grade your character with like a special weapon or some unusual level of damage.
Yeah, basically. But like if you pick them later in the game, they are stronger, and then you can like upgrade them later in the game too, and you don't actually level up your abilities directly at all, like you would in a MOBA. It's not MOBA-ish at all. It's really a shooter. But I was trying to explain the concept of it to you, James, and like
it's hard to grasp because I'm still not quite sold. I feel like it's something I got to play.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's fully tested from what you've said.
Not fully tested, just not fully refined is what I meant. Like, I think they're definitely still working on it, which is fine. It's not even, it's like preparing for a closed alpha release, right? So, it's allowed to not be refined, 100%. But they were pushing it so hard. It was amazing. They had the biggest booth at the entire event. For a developer, that is. They were giving out thousands of Paladins shirts by the second day of the con. Like, there were more Paladins shirts than like Twitch shirts, which was shocking to me.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a success.
You know you've done well when you've got more than the organizers.
Yeah, it was really kind of, well, oh my god, even just speaking of Twitch shirts, like literally the longest line both days the entire time was the Twitch merch booth.
Yeah.
Around the entire show floor, the merch booth line was just like hundreds of people long.
Well, Evan was saying that's like, it's a status symbol, right? Like that community, like showing you were there, you were at TwitchCon. That's a big deal. You show that off. That's like a little badge of honor.
And it's the first TwitchCon, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing that carries a lot of weight as well. You want the first one, don't you? There'll be guys with like GDC 74 whenever it started. I don't know when that thing started.
I was there,
but they will be like proper faded t-shirts, and then there'll be like
Chris
remake
Crawford.
retro t-shirts, and things. So everyone will want the. I probably would have wanted like a first generation TwitchCon shirt. Because it does have resonance when it's the first.
For sure.
Yeah. What did you guys see? How was EGX though?
Fantastic. Yeah, it was really good for us. I mean, again, we didn't see much because what we did, just to blow our own trumpets a little bit more, why not? we built a prison booth, right? We actually built a prison. And the guys that built it just did so well with this thing. It was just amazing. It was disgusting, right? That was the first thing. I didn't realize just quite how bad it was going to be. We had like a canteen and a cell with a couple of bunk beds in it, and a bathroom, a shower cell, and we had an electric chair in there as well. But the set dressing, what they'd done is they had like shits on the floor, that they sprayed, and like a tray of food that had gone off, but it had all been sprayed, so it was all safe and everything. But when you kind of saw the booth and you sort of, that's a bit dingy, and you go over, and when you went into it, it was really like being in the worst. But you guys watch Prison Break. I think it's season 2, isn't it? When they're in the Mexican prison or something.
I've never seen that show.
It's really
honestly.
good. It's really good. You should watch it. But it's like a
decrepit, horrible.
just horrible,
place.
like
Yeah. And we made players sit on the toilet to play.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or sit on the lower bunk and
Yeah,
stuff. It
great.
was like the most uncomfortable booth to play games at.
Yeah.
Some developers give away shirts and have lines on the
Make
way.
you sit on the toilet.
Yeah, there you go. It's a strategy.
And marketing.
So it was a little bit tricky. I mean, obviously, there's all the big stuff at EGX as you expect. There's a giant TIE fighter and stuff, and that that was cool. I like to see all that, but I went over to the Left Field collection and the Res collection because that's much more the kind of games that I'm interested in. And I had a little walk around there, and I just saw a game. It was made by one guy, and it just made me cry with laughter, and it's rare that anything makes me cry with laughter, and this one did. And this game was man or goat, right? It's as simple as that.
Excuse me?
Man or goat, right? And what he'd done is, he's lunatic, right? He'd gone to a goat farm and he'd recorded 3,000 samples of goats, whatever goats do. Do they bar or,
Bleat.
Bleat. I think bleat is
don't
the
they,
word, yeah.
So 3,000 goat bleats. And then he'd recorded himself doing 3,000 goat bleats, right? And he'd got this incredible art style, which is just like these mad goats. And basically, you hear a noise, you've got to have your headphones on, and you hear the bleat, right? And you have to decide, simple, just hit one or other of the buttons. Is it a man or is it a goat, right? And that's all you do.
You even had that left-right swipe thing. It was like Tinder.
Yeah, you are Tinder. Left, right.
Is it a man or goat?
Yeah, man or goat. And it's just like, you experience the whole thing in about like 90 seconds, and then you're kind of done with it. But literally, when I was like watching people play and playing it myself, tears were rolling down my face at this. And that was if I only had 90 seconds spare at EGX, I found 90 seconds of true genius.
Wow.
And just like one
never
guy.
mind Dark Souls, The
Yeah.
Witcher,
Yeah,
Metal Gear Solid. No, never mind.
That's not going to make me cry with
goat.
laughter. Man or goat. Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
v-
man or
v
goat.
That'll be the sequel.
Yeah.
How'd you do?
Like 70%, 60%. It's remarkably difficult, to tell the difference.
Especially under time pressure.
Exactly, a real goat or a man pretending to be a goat.
See, people talk about these other games being esports. I want that to be
Yeah,
esports.
it is one.
I want man or goat to be like the competitive game of next
Spectator
year.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
But I just
It's
love
2020.
I love the idea of this guy. He's like, because he was about like my age or whatever. I just love the idea of his wife or his friends or whatever going like, "What are you doing?" And he's just going like, "Meh." It's like, "What are you doing, man?" It's like, "This is how I'm going to make my living from now on." This
is my art.
People in the real world
won't stop
just
me.
going, "What are you doing, dude?" But yeah, no, that was very cool. That is cool.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
That's amazing.
We look forward to Twitch plays Man or Goat.
Twitch plays man or
Yeah.
goat.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The next version.
Yeah.
Can they
right.
do it? Or can they
do-
not?
Yeah. Twitch plays
They just
man.
beat Dark Souls, didn't they?
I know. I can't understand it. I can't
It's
beat Dark
amazing.
Souls. How can a crowd of 1,000 people who can't even agree on whether to go forwards or backwards?
Well, Twitch
beat
plays
Dark
Dark Souls. They
Souls?
did this it's kind of an amazing thing, right? They did they
bizarre.
modded the game so that it would pause every 15 seconds, so
Right.
that you could input commands more accurately. Which is at that point to me, it's it's no longer just this funny little thing. Like those people put their minds to
Oh,
making that happen.
Yeah.
hacking.
Yeah.
Well, they had to, didn't they? Because they tried Twitch plays Dark Souls, and I think they were stuck in the asylum, weren't they? For
Right.
2 months, and they hadn't even made it
That's
up the
hilarious.
first staircase. And because there's a 30-second lag
I
from
mean-
command to action.
Even the thing that started it all with Twitch Plays Pokemon, that game made it shockingly far before they had to interfere to help it along. There was one section of the game where they got stuck for I think it was 72 hours, and then the developer of it was like, okay, we'll help this along a little bit.
Yeah.
But they got probably halfway through the game before that happened. I mean, obviously Dark Souls I think is a little more complex in its
Well,
getting through.
it's
but-
harder in the sense that if you don't roll left within half a second window, you will die.
Yeah.
And playing that when you have a 30-second lag on your instructions, I think that was just impossible. So they had to hack the game somehow.
I wonder who, if there was somebody in that crowd of Twitch Plays Dark Souls that, had never played Dark Souls before, and that was how they experienced the game. They can tell their friends they beat Dark
Yeah,
Souls,
yeah, that's right.
with Twitch. That's
The
incredible.
democratic process of whether to roll left or roll right. It shouldn't work, should it? It doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't
But it
work,
does.
but it does.
But it is the wisdom of the crowds, isn't it? It's like, where is the limit on this? Where is the limit on what problem can we not solve if you just get 1,000 people all guessing the answers? It's just that incredible.
Could you do Twitch plays Dota or something? One Twitch
wow.
team versus another Twitch team playing.
Oh, man.
That's a
playing
novel
Dota.
idea.
Well, we were talking about this at breakfast, and we were talking about Twitch Plays Prison Architect, right? Because there's no objective, and we were just talking about would it work, because obviously there's creativity that goes into it. So the thought is, right, you in your mind have an idea of the sort of thing that you want to construct, right? But could the crowd somehow come together and construct, or Twitch Plays Minecraft, and actually...
How would you do the control input there?
I don't know.
There has to be,
I
there has
don't
to be
know.
some form of controller input. doesn't
Yeah,
there?
who knows? I mean, I don't know how it would work, but just the idea that could you get kind of some kind of emergent creativity? You know, would the community suddenly start realizing that there's a drift towards a particular thing and then all get behind it? Or would it just dissolve into nothing, you know, because everyone's trying to do their own thing and they got no... And I'd love to...
Would like giant pentagrams start emerging from the crowd and
would
stuff?
they? Yeah,
As
exactly.
proof.
It's kind of like the modern day Ouija board, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly that.
It really
Exactly.
is.
Interesting.
What would happen if you did a Twitch play on a construction game? You know?
Yeah.
What would it work?
I can't imagine it would.
No, I can't.
No, but I can't imagine it would work with Dark Souls, and it did.
That's a
So,
very fair point.
It
That is
did
a very
work
fair point.
somehow.
You know, even going all the way back to like the guess the weight things where this began. You know, guess the weight of the man or the height of the man or the weight of the cow or whatever. And when you take the average of the guesses, they're always like within like a couple of decimal points, bang on. You know, you add them up,
Yeah.
and a 10,000 people will tell you the weight of an elephant. You know.
Well, I think there's one thing that we can be sure of, which is they will do it, right? Like Twitch, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's only
yeah,
a matter
yeah.
of time before Twitch plays Minecraft like becomes a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It has to.
They're doing Fallout 3 now.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Last I heard.
The question
that
is,
seems like
are
it would suit the game quite well, actually, because that
Yeah.
game at least pauses while you make your decision about,
Yeah.
you know, whether you want to shoot for their face or the nads.
Always the
The
name.
key decision.
those are the only choices, really? I think.
Yeah.
Well, the question is, are they going to beat that before the fourth comes out, and then immediately
that
do
their
the
goal?
fourth? I hope. I hope that's their goal.
That's a challenge.
that
You've
is
heard
the
it here
challenge,
first.
yeah.
The challenge has been laid down.
Oh man. So, but in general, Twitch has changed like how games are shown off, and not just like how people play them, but also like the example that I was gonna bring up was like Ark Survival Evolved. That the best way to describe it, a survival game with dinosaurs, right? Like that is what it is. It somehow found an audience in the oversaturated world of multiplayer survival games, basically because they gave it to streamers the day before they released it, and like everybody was streaming it, and now it's still one of the top streamed games. And it's like this amazing marketing push that they just were like, let's show it off on Twitch, and that made it gain popularity. Now, that's not to say that the game didn't deserve that popularity, because it is a fun game and it is a well-crafted game. It's just that, like, you know, there are a lot of fun, well-crafted games out there right now that are just getting passed over in similar ways, or in ways that Ark kind of broke out of.
Yeah.
And it's really impressive. It's kind of amazing that there's this new, like, almost free marketing platform where all you have to do is just give a bunch of people your copy of your game, and they'll...
Well, I bet it wouldn't work again. Or I
Oh,
if you-
yeah.
I mean, I
Let's try
imagine
it.
there would be. Yeah, we'll try it. Yeah, yeah. Quick, shit, change the strategy, do something new. I wonder how many other people have tried that, and it's just not worked. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
like one of these like.
certain games let's play very well. Don't they?
Yeah.
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 You know,
They do.
That's probably one of them. I think survival games in particular let's play quite well, and are very, very watchable.
Yeah.
And some games don't, and I'm sure there's got to be an element of that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's similarly like with a game like Prison Architect or Dwarf Fortress, Let's plays very well because it's a kind of like a game that not everybody wants to dive into, like, and learn all the systems of, but they love watching.
Yeah, it's a way to see the end game. It's like, how far does this game go? Like, what craziness can you build with this game? You can look on Twitch or Let's Plays on YouTube or whatever, and you see some guy who's built something that's taken him 100 hours, you know,
Right.
Or like the 16-bit processor built in Minecraft or something.
man.
And you know that you could never do that yourself, never. But you can watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, I never would have predicted how big it's become, you know, but you start thinking about it when it's become big, isn't it? It's easier to kind of analyze and look back and create. And I always remember, you know, back in the day, like going around to my mate's house and playing old Amiga games and stuff, you know, and you could play like co-op. But if your mate was significantly better than you, there was always this huge amount of enjoyment of going, like, you just keep going, man. You keep going, you know, you complete this, because vicariously we're going to do this together,
Yeah.
you know? And you know, I look back to feeling like that, you know, and that must be what I say must, that maybe that's part of what's kind of driven this revolution, if you like, or drive to watching other people play, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it's a similar sort of motivation to like the esports movement, you know, similar sort of thing that
Yeah.
you want to watch the best talent in the world,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah, StarCraft is way more watchable than playable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Playing it is like being beaten over the head by a 12-year-old
Yeah.
and then humiliated. But
Yeah.
watching pro gamers play StarCraft is awesome fun. You know?
And they're kind of trying to curve that. That was another thing I saw at TwitchCon was the Archon mode of StarCraft 2. If you guys don't know about that, it's like where it's a 2v2 mode where you're controlling the same army as your partner. So like you are commanding the same army, you're commanding the same units, buildings, all that is shared. And the developers at Blizzard were telling me that a lot of the motivation behind that was like, now if you're bad at StarCraft, like you can play with someone who's good at StarCraft and kind of they can carry your weight a little bit.
A buddy mode.
Yeah.
Well, I did that for ages a while ago before that mode even existed. I did 2v2 StarCraft 2 with a platinum level player, and I was bronze level. And we ended up in the gold league. It was really good fun. Right? And it was a really nice thing. And every time we lost, it was my fault because, you know, I just didn't see the enormous army bearing down on the base. And every time we won, it was largely his doing. But it was really good fun.
Yeah.
I guess it's a similar thing, isn't it? Just formalized.
It is a little bit. It is like, and they have games like that too, with like a Quiplash, right? And there's another one that I can't remember the name of, where like the people in the Twitch chat actually choose like what the next room in the level is going to be like for the streamer playing the game. And so it's becoming more, like you said, more formalized of like actually those modes rather than just like de jure, I guess. You know, just doing it by design or not by design. So let's also move on to talk about just in early access games in general, because I brought it up with Ark, and like I said before, you guys were in early access for 36 months.
Yeah.
But something about that is that in the last 2 years, thousands more games have come out on Steam than when you guys kind of started the journey of Prison Architect, right?
Yeah.
Like when you guys started, it was obviously like there was a lot of games coming out and it was a crowded market, but almost nothing compared to what it is today. Like,
I think there was 11 in the first batch of early access games.
yeah.
There
Were
was
you
a
guys
list-
one of the very, very first?
We were
access?
in the first batch,
Cool.
yeah. And now there's like 11 a day. On Steam. Steam's game list is ridiculous, isn't it? If you look at the upcoming games, it is literally 10 a day for the rest of time.
Yeah, basically. And it's insane. It's so many games coming out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's unfortunate because so many people only focus on like the mistakes or the bad ones or the ones that failed, that they kind of write off early access. But there's these amazing successes like, if I may say, Prison Architect
very much.
and Kerbal Space Program
yeah,
is like
definitely.
a huge, like that's the shining example of early access, right? Like, were you guys, I guess, were you scared when like the opinion of early access started to turn? Like, because I feel like that happened in the middle of your guys' early access
it did,
cycle.
but we weren't watching. We were just doing our thing, you know, and our thing was kind of working, you know. And so if we'd noticed that people were turning away from us, that would have been different, right? Because we never saw early access as kind of a thing that you could do, you know. I think that's where the mistakes have come in, where some people have gone, oh, you know, the game's not finished, it's like pre-orders, but even earlier, just shove it up there without any thought at all to what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
And where we came from is we approached it from thinking about where is the value that we can add by letting people watch the development process. And that we genuinely thought, before we were on early access, we were selling the alpha from our site before Steam and everything. And we thought there is a group of people out there that want to be game developers or are game developers and want to come with us on the process of making a game. So we opened up, well, the forum, you know, it's not particularly new, but there was a private dev forum. Wiki was there, you know, private wikis, people could talk about the games, the bug database, so all of these things. So we very much treated it as kind of inclusive in the development world, you know, kind of like come with us and watch us make this game. But we realized quite quickly that the majority, there were a lot of people interested in that, but more so, I think the bulk of the audience just enjoyed playing the game. You know, they enjoyed playing that game, and we learned quite quickly that, because, I mean, I don't know the stats now, but the numbers of copies that we'd sold versus the number of people that had bothered to come and sign up on our site for all the extra services was, you know, hugely, there's a big difference between those two numbers. So we realized that people they want to play Prison Architect in this format. And fairly quickly, we came to a place where we knew that we needed to put good updates in, because we needed to keep people's attention, and we needed to treat those updates with respect. We couldn't just put something out there that immediately broke the game, broke everyone's save games. That was going to be really bad. And also, right at the start, we'd been developing PA for about a year before we launched the very first version, and there was about 4 or 5 hours of gameplay in that first version. Because fundamentally, I think what people want is they want to enjoy something. They want to spend some time with it. And
we have to be able to enjoy it at the start. It's not enough to just have some promise that one day it will be enjoyment.
Yeah.
The first alpha of Prison Architect was a lot of fun to play. It was just lacking in the 3 years of content we added afterwards.
And that's something we've seen time and time again with successful Kickstarter, or not Kickstarter, excuse me, early access games, where Kerbal Space Program, again, was a very fun game.
Yeah.
It didn't have anywhere near the content that it did at launch, right? Or when it finally released, but it was still a very fun core game.
Yeah.
And Darkest Dungeon was another one of these. When it launched on early access, it was missing a lot of things that the developers wanted, but it was a very fun core game. So it's definitely, I know where you're coming from when you were talking about that, for sure.
I think as well that when people invest in an early access game, I think that the surest way to really frustrate early access followers is to go silent for ages and ages and not deliver updates to your game and not communicate that you're not delivering updates, and then kind of 6 months later rush out a patch or something like that. It's a few games have done that, and I think that we were always clear that we wanted to have a regular schedule so that we would make it clear up front how often we were going to update, and we would always deliver something. And that started out as a promise. We didn't do it immediately. Alpha 1, we didn't promise how long it was going to be, but by about Alpha 3 or 4, we'd settled into this monthly rhythm. And it's a way of promising that we will deliver an update at the end of the month, and so you'll know that we're still active on this project and we haven't moved on to something else. But then it became a positive thing for us as well, because internally it became our deadline, and every month we had a cycle where we would experiment with crazy stuff at the start of the month, and then we would finalize it and make it work well and make it work as a game mechanic and get all the art and the sound in the middle of the month. And then the last week we would test the hell out of it, and we would package it up and we'd make the video together and we'd do all the kind of launch logistics. And we did that. I mean, it felt like a life cycle. For years on end, I became quite addicted to it. Actually, it was just this regular cycle. It was really satisfying.
Are you guys gonna go into withdrawal in the next month when you don't have more?
No, because we're going to carry on updating it. He said yes, but the reality is we're going to keep going. Yeah.
I think that's why I finished the game on the plane. I was already starting to kick in.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I'm not finished. I have more to do.
So then, what made you determine that this was no longer early access? What was the deciding factor?
Yeah. There are a few reasons. We, as a company, want to put out great standalone games. That's like the real bottom line answer to this. That we want people to look back on Introversion and say, those guys were the best developers ever, right? That's my goal in life, right? And we're
in the world.
Yeah.
A totally modest bar to set for yourself.
That's genuinely what I want to do, right? And if we ever stop shooting for that goal, we'll have made some mistakes, And in order to achieve that, we're what are we now? 15 years old. We've got 4 great games behind us. We've made 5. One of them kind of missed, But in the next 15 years, I want there to be another load of games. And then eventually I want people to look up and go, do you know what? If you look on aggregate at what they've done, that is better than what anybody else did. He's laughing because he has to deliver on this.
There's a guy there called Miyamoto.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody can beat.
But we've got time, right? We've got time. He's
Yeah.
So in part, there was this desire to finish the game, right, and say, this is now the end of Prison Architect. Secondly, right from the start, Prison Architect, in a certain sense, kind of writes itself. If there was no Prison Architect, and it's true, if there was no Prison Architect...
I don't do anything in the moment.
Just sits and plays Dark Souls 2.
The game just writes itself, man.
If you
just press F7.
No, I mean, in terms of what you're going to put into it, right? You could sit down, if there wasn't Prison Architect, you could sit down and write all the things that need to go into a prison management and construction simulator, right? And we had this big list right from the start. And so when we started getting to the point where we were finishing that list, that was saying, now's time for version 1. And the other reason was that by the end of last year, we'd been working on this game for kind of 4 years, you know, and we were all getting a little bit tired, you know, and a little bit bored of the genre, and a little bit, you know, oh, hello, you know, let's do another update.
It was definitely getting difficult, wasn't it, for a while? We were getting a bit depressed, actually, for a while, weren't we?
I think we had like the mid-project blues, and I kind of thought that, no, we need to turn this around now, so we need to launch next year. Let's start putting the plan together. And then, because I knew that it would end in crunch, you know, which is where we are now, and everyone desperately wishing it was December last year when they could always
the glory days.
Just relax a little bit. But those were kind of like the from my point of view. Go on, what's the real answer then, mate?
No, that's good. That's
good.
That is the real answer, I think. We put everything into the game that we thought was necessary. You know? One of the last big updates we put in was gangs. And gangs have been in development for over 3 years.
Oh, wow.
In the background. We just could never figure out. We knew how to simulate something that looked like gangs, but there's no point in just simulating gangs. Because if the player can't interact with that simulation and affect it, it's not a gameplay mechanic, it's just simulation for its own right, for its own sense. So we finally figured out how to make gangs something that the player could do something about, and that went into Alpha 36. And that was like the last thing on the list. And we just didn't want to end up, you know, scraping the barrel for whatever, you know, zombie mode or whatever, you know.
You heard it here first. It's confirmed, guys. Zombie mode coming.
Zombie mode,
That'll be the exclusive DLC, right?
Yeah.
There's a point when you've used all your best ideas, right? And that's the time to ship. That's the time to go.
Zombies come in. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, like, from my perspective as just like a gamer and a fan of Prison Architect, like I think I bought the Prison Architect in early access like maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago, and I played it a lot for like a month back then, and then was like, I want to wait for the finished version of this, and I set it aside temporarily, and I'm going to come back to it next week now that it has that like 1.0 label on it. And maybe James, maybe you have a different or a interesting opinion on this as well, but like I don't do many early access games. Like I usually want, even if I really enjoy them, like Starbound I had a very similar experience with. I played it for like a little bit, and now I'm waiting until there's like a 1.0 on it. So even if it is just like almost symbolic, it means something to me as a gamer.
That's exactly it. People ask us about this, and the answer is, you all know. You know what it means when we tell you this is version 1.
Yeah.
You know, and even though we are going to carry on updating it, you know, and we are going to carry on fixing issues because there's still going to be a few issues in there. This is us saying, there you go, world. There is version 1 of this game, you know, and if you love it, maybe you'll play some of the more updates. But what is likely to happen is you'll go in, you'll play version 1, you know, and then for a lot of gamers, they'll move on to the next thing, and that will be their experience of Prison Architect.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's a difficult thing in an early access world, and a world where you can just keep putting in updates and things. We all know what V1.0 means.
Right.
Just inherently.
I think in early access as well, to some extent, we had just the introduction, which is a very short tutorial with some story material, and then the sandbox. And after a year or two of development, that's quite an intimidating difficulty curve. And I think that during early access, there's an element of watching Let's Plays and reading wikis and things like that to learn to play the game. And for version 1, we were very clear that we wanted to have much more of a introductory ramp up to the game. So, you know, in version 1, we made sure that there would be a story that would take you through a series of chapters in which you would learn how to play the game, and it would be a story in its own right. But that was never ready during early access, because that kind of story material doesn't really suit early access monthly update cycles, because you were never going to play the story every month. Nobody in the world plays a story every month, right? Because it's the same story each time. The sandbox is perfect for early access because it's mechanics based and system based, you know. And version 1 is the point where we could bring in that story material to introduce players to the game.
Yeah. James, do you play many? Like, do you wait or do you play early access?
It's reassuring to hear you guys talk about how you posit early access, is because I play early access games very, very selectively based on my interest, like in development of games. And I don't know. I think a lot of the controversy arises from like maybe people expecting early access to be like just a promise of more features coming in, like kind of like a subscription service of games as a service model. But I buy early access games because I'm curious to see a concept and I'm curious to see how it's iterated on. And I'm curious to see, like, interactions between developers, community, feedback. So, yeah, I don't really play that many because I'm not that interested in a lot of what's on early access because I don't think a lot of it is positioned as that. Prison Architect is one I was interested in, primarily because I grew up in a prison town. Yeah.
Wow, well, that's it.
That's an ominous statement.
Conversations about
Well,
that.
yeah, it's kind of what everyone worked at the prison and everyone,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was very curious, and I got it 2 years ago or something like that, and hopped in. And I was like, "This is really cool," and would peek in every couple months, see what's going on, see what systems were being added, and it was cool to see the updates every month. And but some games just go off the map, and
I mean, there's an investment, isn't there? Whenever you fire up a new game, you're investing in it. And at the moment, you were saying before, there are so many games out there now. It didn't used to be like this. Now there are hundreds a day.
Some of them are just ridiculously demanding of your time as well.
So the decision to play is one that you have to take carefully, and in a considered way. What am I going to invest the next 50 hours, into if I really enjoy this? Because I'm going to be cutting a lot of other things out. And the way I see early access evolving is I think that people will latch on to a particular concept that they might think that is a very good concept, and I'm very interested in looking at how that develops, or potentially a developer. So they might think, I've always really enjoyed what, I don't know,
Introversion Software.
Yeah.
Or created.
Have done.
For example.
Or anyone else, I really enjoyed their output, and I'm interested to see what those guys are doing next.
Yeah.
But I think that's how it will be spread. It would be like, I don't know, supporting a movie and going to a really early showing or something. You'd go, you might go and pay to go to like an early screening of a Tarantino movie or something, right? Because you know that you love everything else that he's done, and you want to go and watch that. But you wouldn't do that on anything else, you know. But if Tarantino said to you, "Hey guys, there's some rushes of my next film. Do you want to come round?" You'd probably be like, "Yeah, and that's cool. Let's go and do it." But you wouldn't go to every movie or play every game in early access. And I think I think it's going to stay, and I think that's how it's going to evolve. And I think the people that have exploited early access and not taught it with or treated it with enough respect will just continue to fail, in early access. And it'll be like very similar to Kickstarter and crowdfunding, very similar thing that there was a kind of bubble at the start, and then people kind of realized how to become savvy in determining which projects were going to work. If it looked like it was bullshit and it smelled like it was bullshit, it is bullshit, And I think the players have learned that now. And so I think that similarly, Kickstarter and crowdfunding will go in a similar way, that people will become much more savvy about it, much more selective about where things go. And actually, that's a good thing for developers, because it means that if you get it right and if you think about it carefully, you'll be okay. You can tap into these models that are so good for studios.
Can I just say I'm jealous of your life for how casually you just accepted a pre-screening viewing from Tarantino there. You were like, just like it happened every weekend, basically.
Sure. I can't. I'm launching Prison Architect next week. I'll be there afterwards.
Well, let's move on to our Catfantastic quiz. Catfantastic, the completely meaningless name that I love so much. So this week, I kind of teased it earlier of saying a hands-on quiz with TF2. And what that means is, for those of you who don't know, real quick, Catfantastic, just weekly quiz based on something in PC gaming, always very silly. This week, especially so. Another one from the mind of our great Chris Livingston, our staff writer. And when he told me the idea for this quiz, I thought it was a terrible idea. And then I tried to answer the questions in my head, and I realized it's brilliant. So the question is...
So basically what you're saying is you've prepared all the answers,
yes.
right? So you're ready to go.
The answers prepared themselves, and you'll see what I mean. I'm going to say the name of each TF2 character, and you have to tell me whether they're wearing a glove on their right hand, left hand, both hands, or no gloves. And that's why I had to put those pieces of paper up to hide the hands
I noticed that. I
of the
wondered.
TF2
This is
characters.
the most Chris Livingston news
Yeah.
I've ever
So
heard of.
so once again, I'm gonna say
Oh
the
my
name of a
God.
character, and you have to tell me. And you're gonna be doing this. You're not gonna tell anybody. I'm gonna count 3, 2, 1, and you have to hold up which hand or hands or none that you think it is.
Okay.
And for those listening on iTunes,
You
we'll
just copy me, all right?
yeah.
I know.
No, we'll
we'll
Yeah, we'll copy it. Yeah.
for those listening on iTunes, we'll announce the answers so you can
jeez.
actually play
Right.
along as well.
Right.
So
Can I lift this up slowly?
no.
Let's see, where's my phone?
None of that. So
How long do we have for each?
I'll give you a few seconds.
Can we
It'll be-
confer?
You can confer if you'd like, but come up with your own answers at the end of it. So,
I'm not big clues.
first off, the medic. Wearing gloves, not wearing gloves, only left hand, only right hand. Those are the options. You have 4
he's both. I'm
options.
pretty sure he's both. isn't he?
Okay, so on 3, 2, 1, raise what you think. 3, 2, 1, now. So we have all both,
Yeah.
and that is correct.
All
So
right.
that was a
All
little
right,
gimme.
so,
That was a
yeah,
gimme.
That's easy. That one.
That
So
was
next we
11
want to
to
go
go.
the heavy, assuming he's not wearing his boxing glove item, because he does have gloves on as a weapon. So
Okay.
No,
Okay.
he doesn't.
We have to
have
guess which hand too.
you those are different options. You could say he only has a glove on his left hand or only has a glove on his right hand.
All right.
Does
Okay.
he have that? Does he have that? Has he got like that little glove on his gun hand,
Well-
like a sort of biker's glove?
We'll see. We'll see.
I
3,
think he might.
2,
Which one is
1.
it, though?
All said right
Yeah.
hand. That was actually both. But he has fingerless gloves on
I
both
was thinking
hands.
about
Semantics.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, that's
what I
you,
said.
so you got it
But it's
right.
only on his gun hand.
No, it's on both hands.
Show us
Yeah,
a picture.
I
We
promise.
don't believe
Prove
it.
it.
You
We
are-
don't, yeah, we
This
don't
is
believe
bullshit.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about this is a little bit of a trick question too, because he actually he used to not have any gloves.
See,
So-
that's it. So I'm talking about
Yeah.
the original version.
Okay.
Yeah.
But by the time they did the meet the heavy stuff, he had gloves on both hands. It's just the very beginning he didn't.
Right.
So next we're gonna go engineer.
Yeah, he's got that bright yellow thing, hasn't he? That engineer's glove. You know
just
that
one
big
now?
bright yellow thing.
Is he?
It's on his right hand, isn't it? Or is it on his left hand? I don't sodding well know.
See, it's way harder, right? It's way harder than you think it is.
That guy,
Yeah.
he's got a big yellow glove on his right hand,
Yeah.
doesn't he? Hasn't he?
All right, let's
There's no point
go
asking
with
you
this.
this.
3, 2, 1. So we have 2 right hands and 1 left. It is the right hand. He's only got 1 glove. There you go.
He's barehanded on the other.
He's barehanded on his
Why can't I
left.
imagine?
He's got
I
on
can't
his,
visualize
on
that.
his wrench hand. He has a glove
Yeah,
on, doesn't he?
I don't know, right? It's
cannot visualize
impossible.
that at
This
all.
is what I'm talking about. You start to think about it, and then it just poofs from
Messing
your
with
head.
my head. This is
Yeah.
seriously.
So next
creeping
we'll
me
go
out.
And that's the
scout.
end of the quiz. So what's
Scout.
next?
Yeah.
We're gonna go scout.
Scout. I've been seeing these characters on and off for like 9 years or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, right. But you can't think of it when it comes to it. You can't. It just goes away. Their hands are not. Literally, their hands are like
What
up
is
there
real?
too, and it's just gone.
Scout's the baseball kid one, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
This is why this quiz is incredible.
Yeah.
Cheating.
Cheating. Worth a try. So he didn't have
Scout.
it up
I
there.
cannot think. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna go 3, 2, 1.
No.
Answer.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah.
So all you said
I don't
none.
think he's wearing gloves.
This is also that's
Fingerless?
correct. He's
Yeah.
wearing none, but he's actually got hand wraps on.
That's what I.
So it was like a little
yeah,
bit
okay.
tricky.
Okay,
But I don't
yeah.
count that as gloves. That's not gloves,
That
right?
doesn't mean
Nah.
the definition of
Okay.
glove. A wrap.
So
it's not hand coverings quiz. That's next week.
yeah, we'll skip a
boxing
couple. We'll
glove
go.
lining.
Yeah.
We'll go soldier next.
Soldier.
Another
Oh,
one covered
I
up
know
over
this
there.
one. I know this one.
Okay.
do? What's
okay.
the
I
answer then?
think
Maybe
he's not wearing any. Is he?
that one's covered up.
I don't think he's wearing any.
No, I think none as well. He's with the rocket launcher.
He's
isn't
got.
he?
I remember huge sleeves and little fist poking out.
Yeah.
I think none.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm just being different.
What
'cause
the
I'm-
hell's wrong with you? You did.
Because I'm going to win, right?
Go your own way.
I'm
Go
one
your own
up.
way.
So that's none, but Mark says both,
Yeah.
and that was none. Also,
Hey.
so there you go.
tried.
And then we'll finish off with sniper.
I'm seeing something on
I'm
his
looking around the
hands.
office and I can't see any
Yeah, I
sniper
was just going to look
pictures.
through this edition of
Yeah.
PC Game.
There's a good-
I don't get to see the
bound
US,
to be a trick question,
US
the last
mag
one,
very
isn't
often.
it? It's
That
bound
was
to be it.
that was this month, so I'm not sure if there's anything
Because-
TF2 related, but
Oh,
we'll
it's
see.
the Australian dude, isn't it? The sniper.
Yeah.
I honestly can't remember. I
Okay,
don't know.
we'll
this
do-
is
we'll-
a
Yeah, I
sodding
think-
stupid quiz.
So we'll go.
I'm
Yeah,
saying,
oh,
I'm
God
just- I'm
damn
saying
it.
one
Well,
hand.
well, then we'll-
Trigger
well, then-
hand
well, then
has got
put-
some kind of thing.
We'll
Yeah.
put the quiz out of its misery and say 3, 2, 1, go. All you said right hand. It's
Yeah.
actually left hand.
God damn it.
Just on the left, he's got a.
On the front.
Yeah, just on the that
Yeah.
hand.
Oh, yeah,
Barrel.
obviously. Yeah, obviously.
Um,
Yeah, I thought we did all right there.
No,
actually.
not
Yeah,
so
we did
bad.
alright,
Yeah,
yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
It's shocking how much that messes with your head,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like,
yeah. Trying to conceive it.
It's
Remember
all,
the detail.
yeah, I can see silhouettes, which is maybe
Uh-huh.
like maybe a compliment.
And that's where the game design went, isn't it? So
Yeah,
you're meant
yeah.
to be able to see each character in silhouette and know immediately who they are.
Yeah,
And there's something about
but
that.
I don't know distinctly what they are.
the hands are gone. Yeah.
I've never been a big fanatic about the gloves worn by video game characters. You know.
There's
This
some
one-
guy in
this
our
came
chat
from-
who knows all the gloves. And
This
is
came.
angry.
Yeah, this came from the same mind of the guy who made a city skyline city with only one house in it, and then built the entire rest of the city. So he.
I think's outside the box.
Yeah, he thinks outside the box. I really enjoyed that. So thank you guys for playing along. We'll jump right along to our next topic, which is adventure games and for kids specifically, and kind of how kids
yes.
games have shifted. So we wrote an article just about 2 or 3 days ago, which I've just posted in chat, and people can look up on PCGamer.com. Basically looking at the kind of the most iconic kids games, at least from when I was a child, which is the humongous entertainment games:
Yes.
Putt-Putt, Spy Fox, Freddy Fish,
Pajama Sam. shout
Pajama
out.
Sam. Yeah,
I
don't
don't
think
know if they're a US thing because I read the article last night and I've never heard of it.
really.
Yeah, yeah. So
So these were
when
these
were they
were-
out?
These were I can't actually
Mid to late 90s.
yeah
Or
something
maybe-
like that.
Yeah, you see, we were
Let me
actually
look
at
it up.
university then, so
Yeah, could have been.
we weren't actually kids at that point.
Right, so that might also be the reason.
yeah.
that
Yeah,
you're-
but I think there wasn't a massive gaming industry back in those days. So you know,
Well, it was Ron Gilbert was one of the founding members of Humongous, and he was one of the guys who kind of went behind this. If you guys don't know Ron Gilbert, please look him up. You should know him. He's that iconic adventure game pioneer, and they were these adventure games that were educational and they were fun for kids, but they weren't really meant to they were meant to be educational, but they weren't solve these number
Yeah,
problems,
yeah,
right? It was like point and click adventures that just kind of got your head thinking about logic rather
Yeah.
than, but it was in a very kind of, it didn't slow underhand pitch like the actual adventure game aspects of it.
No, some of them are very deep and complex.
Yeah.
Is as frustrating as any other adventure game from the era at times.
So the first Putt-Putt game came out in 1992, and that was the first Humongous Entertainment game. And then the last Putt-Putt game came out in 2000. So it was a 90s sort of thing. If you're a 90s kid, you will get this. No, I'm sorry. Moving on from that.
What have you done?
But for me at least, so you guys, are maybe a generation up to have missed this, but for me, they were the thing that got me into PC gaming.
well, I've just
Same.
been thinking, about that. Just so you've been talking now, because there might be some listeners that are 80s kids, and for
Right.
us, we used to have these BBC micro computers, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember now
Spectrums and
there was
stuff.
this adventure game that
Oh,
you
yeah.
played on it. Did you ever play it? It was a text.
I never had a
adventure
BBC
game.
Micro. I had a Spectrum.
Yeah, well, it had it at school, and
Sinclair
you could play it at school. And I can't remember anything about this game, but this must have been one of the first games I ever played now. So I'm really going back. Haven't thought about that game for a long, long time, because obviously think about things that I started playing as a teenager for fun. But yeah, this was one of the first adventure games, and it was just choose your own adventure, text, you're in the cabin, there's a coat and I don't know, whatever on the wall, what do you do? And you got to type in pick up coat, and then go
Yeah.
outside. And if you go outside without wearing the coat, you get killed, And I can remember, you've died.
Game
in-
design.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, you've died because it's snowing outside, go back to the start. So
And there's Oregon
Yeah.
Trail too, right? I played Oregon
Yeah.
Trail
Oh,
when
yeah.
I was in
Oh, yeah.
elementary school a lot.
you guys
too.
got a chat running, haven't you? So I can ask the audience to tell me what that game was.
Yeah.
And the
If-
PC gamer audience, will Google that for me and tell me what that was called.
If you know the game Mark is talking about,
Yeah,
where
if
you
you go
don't put on the
outside
coat,
and
you die.
die.
Yeah,
Let us
I
know.
can't remember if that was a thing in it or not. It was a BBC micro text adventure game, and I think at one point the whole screen changed color or something. I don't know. But anyway,
You're not
that's-
narrowing it down that well, I've got to be honest.
Mate, I imagine there are very, very few
Yeah,
text adventure
yeah,
games on the
maybe,
BBC
yeah.
Micro.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that PC gamer audience will be able to assist in this
Yeah.
in this quest.
Well, the thing that holds true from those games and also the humongous games is that they were all adventure games, and they were all long form adventure games. They weren't
Yeah.
bite-sized experiences. And I feel like how a lot of kids nowadays, and obviously I think you can talk even more authoritatively on this because I don't have children. I feel like a lot of more kids get more of their games through like mobile nowadays and tablets and that sort of thing. And like, I mean, am I valid in being concerned that there's like, we've kind of through that have almost lost an entry, like a gateway drug almost to being a PC gamer?
We're so concerned that we've lost a gateway drug to our, to our addictive wares.
Putt-Putt was a gateway drug for me, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, very interesting. I mean, my 4-year-old son already plays video games. And the video games that he plays are Minecraft, which he's not very good at playing yet. He still needs a lot of help, but he loves it. He absolutely loves building houses and everything like that.
Which is a PC game as well as mobile.
He plays it on my laptop. This one here actually. But for the most part, he'll play games on the iPad, and he'll play like Peppa Pig games and Octonauts games. Maybe you don't have a clue what the hell they are, but they're kid shows in the UK. And I tell you, when he's not playing those games, he watches Let's Plays on YouTube of other people playing those kids' games.
Does he? Yeah.
How weird is that?
Yeah.
Let's Plays
That's
of games for 4-year-olds.
Well, it's kind of what we were talking about, right? Like, of not wanting to play through Dark Souls yourself, so you watch Dark Souls, right?
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from, I mean, like even as far as like how kids, or the argument that kids are maybe losing a gateway to gaming is like, I don't think that's true at all. It's what do people have available to them? A lot of people can't play these games, especially kids. So like teens, when I taught in high school, people were watching Let's Plays all the time because they couldn't afford a PlayStation or whatever. And, you know, when it comes to gaming, like what's available to these kids? Yeah, kids these days have access to their parents' touchscreens and so on. It's so easy and to get into gaming through that stuff. And the technology's changed too, so maybe you're not seeing adventure games because those were easy to run on your fat CRT and loud tower that a lot of people had. Now the technology allows for you to like have Minecraft on mobile, you know?
I don't think they even think about it. I think that it's such a, an iPad to a 4-year-old is not a miraculous device.
No.
The fact that it has all television ever available for download and instant watching, and you can move between games and TV and reading web pages and looking at the BBC page and just freely moving between playing music or
that's just the
drawing
newspaper now.
sketches.
That's right.
That's what it is.
And he'll swipe between a game and then he'll draw some sketches in a different thing, and then he'll watch a program in another one, and it's just normal. It's normal. It's permanently connected to the internet.
We have a guess on that game, right? By the way, it was Flowers of Crystal was a name
might
put
have
out.
been. Yeah, it might have been Flowers of Crystal. I need to Google and see a screenshot.
That's a great name.
And I know what I'm going to be doing tonight. Now, downloading a BBC emulator and playing Flowers of Crystal.
Oh man,
yeah, that's,
we live in the glory.
Yeah. I mean, I had an interesting experience with my my 4-year-old because she's obviously played on the iPad a lot. She's always, you know, and similar sort of games that Chris is talking about, stuff that the BBC do nowadays to kind of keep them entertained, and watching things on my phone when we're in restaurants. And I was buying something from the Apple store, and she was there, and she was just being annoying, you know, as they can be, 4-year-olds, right? And so I just wanted to just get her attention on something, and so I booted up like the CBBC website on a big like Apple TV screen with a mouse, right? She'd never played with a mouse before, you know? Wow. And so for her, she like climbed up onto the big table in the Apple store and was poking the screen and going, this doesn't work, Daddy, this doesn't work. And I'm like, no, you have to use this thing. And
it was almost like an ancient device.
Yes, exactly. It was almost like, what is this? You know, what is this outdated and peculiar way to be interacting with you know?
It's like Star Trek 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hello,
yeah,
computer.
it was.
Hello, computer.
That's exactly right. And I mean, she picked. I got her on a trackpad eventually because like she kind of could understand the trackpad better.
Yeah.
But recently she's been doing this reading eggs thing, which is kind of like really good, teaching her to read, but it's only on desktop for some reason. I don't know why. And she's figured out the mouse. So I think what you say is very interesting. I don't think that we've lost an entry drug to gaming. I think they're going to game. But maybe PC, you know, because I wonder if the first time she's kind of introduced to a keyboard and mouse is going to be like at school in like a lesson format, you know, sit down now and we're going to...
Mouse 101.
Exactly, you know, and now you are that kind of horrible thing that the education system do, which is they say, right, stop having fun because you're learning now, you know, and the desktop form factor will connect with the children in a way of, no, this is where I have to go and do like programming bullshit that you know I'm forced to do, you know, that I don't want to do because I'd rather be, you know, doing something else. I wonder if that might happen.
And I was doomsaying a little bit, you know, for the sake of discussion, but like, because there is also like Minecraft is on mobile and it's on like everything ever now.
Yeah.
But like for me, I have connected with my little cousins who are 8 and 9 years old because they found out that I like can play Minecraft for a living and like that could be my job.
Yeah.
And they suddenly I am the coolest cousin, right? Like I am like that guy that they want to hang out with at all like the family dinners and stuff because I'm the only adult who knows Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
And like they have a couple of them, you know, just play on mobile, but a couple of the others, like they have discovered mods through playing on the iPad, and then they jump to a PC, and then they learn about modding, and then they're getting into modding, which is actually like more of an entry to PC gaming than anything else in the world. Like modding is PC gaming. So like, and to a certain degree, you know, Minecraft was never, I don't think, meant to be a kids game, but that's kind of almost where it's found its market now.
Well, I think isn't the genius of Minecraft that it scales all the way.
Yeah,
and
it's
that
true.
A 4-year-old can play it and enjoy building a flower garden or you know a house or something. Whereas you know it goes all the way up, and if you're playing it as a teenager, I've seen people. You know, well, like the good example would be like the 16-bit microprocessor built within Minecraft. You know, that's at the other end of the scale of what can be built within Minecraft. And along the way, you know, if you have Tekkit running or whatever, and you have factories and resources running everywhere, it becomes like a whole engineering industry system. But it also goes all the way back to just putting blocks and building a wall and putting flowers on the wall and stuff.
Yeah, and jumping back to what we were talking about of technology for a bit, so we can transition into the next part of our conversation. Like, you know, right now touchscreen is like just normal, but like it's amazing to think that maybe VR is going to be that next step. Where it's like the idea that you don't just like reach out into space and like touch the thing is like that'll be just how you control Minecraft. Because now Minecraft is going to be on Oculus, which they announced at Oculus Connect 2 just this last weekend or last week. And it's kind of amazing that like that could be the next step of like VR could just become like, you know, the next generation of kids. It's just like that VR is just what you do. What is like, why am I touching the screen? You know, like that could be the next part of it. Obviously, like I do want to talk about VR in general because Oculus, this was the first time that Oculus didn't announce something new for the Rift in like one of their yearly press conferences, which is pretty incredible. Means it's getting close, I guess. Now, obviously, Prison Architect is not the most VR-friendly game.
I don't agree.
You don't agree?
No, genuinely, I don't. I mean, my first experience with VR this time around, you know, obviously I was around for the previous generation in the 90s, but my first experience was with the Steam, for a different iteration than the one that they've got now, the HTC one, but was the Steam VR demo, and you know, everyone that's experienced VR just goes, This is the future. This new technology. We are going to be using this. How ubiquitous it will be, we can argue over. But this isn't 3D TV, right? This is where the future is going to be. And
there was, just to interrupt real quick, there was somebody told me one of my favorite quotes of all time about VR, which is there's two kinds of people. There's two opinions you have about VR, which is you think it's the future and it's amazing and it's incredible and it will absolutely change everything, or you've never tried it.
Yeah, or you haven't put a headset on this time.
Yeah,
you know, because there are people that used it last time that are still saying it's not gonna, you know, not gonna fly.
Right.
But I mean, when I was in that VR demo, one of the ones they had was a little like just kind of board of office workers, right, running around, just like an intricate little model of people running. And I got down on the floor and was on my hands and knees, crawling and peering and looking at the intricacy of this thing working. And that was the big, expansive spaces are fantastic to be in VR, but difficult to interact with. I think, you know, just there are limitations, right? Because you, as a human, you want to walk around those spaces, right? So, in forcing you to be fixed within a small grid, there are ways of doing that. But one of the most wonderful things that I enjoyed was this looking at this particular thing evolving within you. And I could, there's no plans for us to do it, but the idea of you having a Prison Architect board in front of you in which you can peer at the board and look at it and draw the walls and kind of extrude them and watch the prisoners, running. If you could figure out that interface, I actually think would be a great way to experience PA. Like with everything in VR, who knows, right? Because if it's going to be down on the floor, maybe you're going to get sore knees.
No one's made the rules up yet, have they?
Exactly. Everyone's going to be like, not only do you need a VR room, you also need crash mats on the floor because
I've seen a few demos in VR now where they have a table in the room, in the space, and you can walk around the table, and there's either a strategy game playing out on the table, or some kind of war game, or some kind of miniatures running around that you can control. It seems like that might be one of the new ways that VR can be made to work.
Yeah.
Because you can take a strategy game and it's an established idea that you could run it on a board.
Yeah.
As if you're a general in a room with a big battlefield in front of you, except it's animated, and all the aircraft are flying overhead, animated and everything. It's a really cool experience.
Or kind of even, like we'll probably come on to it, the social aspect of VR that Oculus are, really pushing, I think, because of the Facebook connection there, that you would be playing on a desktop with renders of your mates, around the table, looking at the way they move and things. But what you've actually got in front of you is just a,
So we can recreate that scene from Star Wars.
Yeah.
I sense much fear in you.
Yeah.
When they're all sat around in a semicircle and some of them are hologrammed in.
Yeah, well,
That's it. They've got headsets on.
I was also thinking about the like the chess game, isn't it? In like the original one where they're playing some form of chess in the Millennium Falcon.
Oh,
Is that where it comes from? Or is that the Wookiee win?
That's Let the Wookiee win.
Yeah, Let the Wookiee win. When they've got like the holograms on it. And of
so
course,
you have that, and you have your opponent and their hands and face captured as well.
Yeah, or maybe like more of an AR thing, augmented reality, rather, it being like.
Because I think Oculus have been saying that even just the position and orientation of your person's helmet and their handsets is enough to capture your human nature.
Mm-hmm.
And they send that over the network and then render those in your 3D world, and it's a person that's there.
And they were showing off some cool things at Oculus Connect too, where they were like, they had sensors in the padding around the goggles that could like tell when your eyes were moving, and then they would bring that data into the game and it would actually show up on your facial model.
Right.
So like you could blink and you could like make facial expressions and they would show up on your in-game character.
Wow. Beyond that,
which
they
is
had
just
a
amazing.
dongle, like hanging out off the front, looking at your mouth.
Yeah, and that would capture that.
Your mouth.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean,
That's just full-blown performance capture at that point.
absolutely,
I know.
It's just basically,
It's
they made Avatar with less, didn't they?
Yeah, they basically. It's interesting that's what the Avatar technology was, right?
Yeah,
like it was a
essentially.
camera pointed at your face covered in dots, and now that's just starting to
in your
move into
living
the
room
house.
on your 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Who's wondering what a mouse is at the same
Yeah,
time, like using it in
touch
school,
screen.
like you said. That'd be funny if it was like mice become like the work thing.
Yeah,
Like,
and it might, you just think
might.
about, what you're saying. I don't know. I mean, it's a tool, isn't it? And you get to a certain age
Well,
where
it depends on whether they want to play first-person shooters or not.
Yeah.
Because that's when they'll realize they need a mouse.
yeah.
Well, I mean, they did at Oculus too, and this is like, I think the least interesting thing about VR, and the least interesting way to like demo it is they showed off Bullet Train in
I saw some videos of that.
Unreal
Yeah.
tech demo, I believe.
Yeah.
And you're basically, I mean, it's just you use the touch controllers and map to guns, and you kind of grip guns and you shoot dudes. And like,
It's a shooting gallery.
yeah, when I
You
think,
know there's going to be a lot of them in VR.
Yeah.
They're going to be some of the first games.
I think it's like, I get why they do it, because people who maybe haven't tried it go like, oh yeah, that's what I do in the games now. But imagine doing that in VR. Whereas if you've tried VR, like that's the least interesting thing about it is, like do I want to just shoot dudes in this, or do I want to like explore a room or peer over into my little tiny prison?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying, Mark, about like, and what you just said is that like, first-person shooters seem like the easiest, like, oh, that's what you would do if you're first-person in a VR game. But maybe it's starting to pan out that those might be the least interesting uses of VR there
because
is.
you can't move.
Yeah.
As soon as you move, you want to throw up.
right.
So you can't move in the first-person shooter. That means we're talking about fixed-point shooting galleries, where you're in a fixed place. I think there's going to be a load of games that find creative ways to make you not have to move around.
Well, there's this really interesting game. Oh, God, I really wish I could find the name of it. I'm totally blanking. It's a Vive game where you're on like a floating, like kind of steampunky barge thing.
Right.
And so the area you can move around is just the area on your
seen it.
ship,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
called,
you pilot the ship.
It's called hover junkies or something like that.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
That's
something
yeah.
like that. And I'm trying to find the.
It's
actual
from
name.
that YouTube guy, isn't it, that makes those amazing short action films. He went and started a games company.
Oh wow!
But he has a whole YouTube following behind him. They're going for something completely different.
Yeah, hover junkers. That's the
the
name
one,
of it.
hover
Yeah.
junkers,
And
yeah.
so that's how they solved
So
the idea. is
you're
that
in a fixed box,
Yeah.
aren't you? But it's moving.
you're in the box and you don't move around from
Yeah.
place to place. The ship does. The box does.
Yeah.
And so it allows you to do a first-person shooter in that sense.
Gotcha.
But then you're doing other things.
So you say least interesting, and I think I probably agree with you. You know, in terms of interest, but
It's not to say it's not interesting.
Well, I
No,
think,
yeah.
well, it's not that. It's just that I really want to play it. You know,
Right.
So,
Sure.
So for the intellectual part of me doesn't really want to talk about it. I'm with you on that.
No,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
But you know, I've gone around and Chris wrote one. He wrote a shooting gallery, exactly the same, right? Exactly the
true.
same idea. Just you're on the sea, right? And you've got targets all over the place. But for me, aiming was just wonderful in this thing, right? Because the tracking was so strong.
You actually have to aim.
Yeah, you really do.
You have to
And
aim down the sights.
Get down. And I was also thinking about peripherals as well, because obviously you've just got the kind of things, the handhold. But and it worked when I had a pistol, but not when I had a rifle, because I needed to
Right.
physically feel the rifle. But the idea of picking up a peripheral on the floor, which is tracked in 3D space, and then shooting at things, with a bit of motion feedback on. To me, it does a couple of things. Firstly, it excites me, right? I want to play that, and I
You
reckon
want to be
that-
John McClane.
Yes,
People
I
are going to
really
get so injured.
They are.
They're going to be doing rolls in the
Well,
living room.
That's exactly it. And it's going to be like I don't know, House of the Dead, or whatever when you're in there. But they were good arcade games,
Yeah.
kind of in their they had their place.
I think there is a key difference. I think that we've gotten used to aiming by holding down the right mouse button or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that actually aiming down the sights is remarkably difficult to do.
Yeah, now that you guys explained that, I think as a way to express actually shooting a gun and
Yeah.
the skill involved with that,
Yeah.
even over a short distance.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You actually
yeah, it's
you
intriguing.
can't just level up your RPG skills that increase your accuracy. You actually have to aim,
No, I don't.
and most people can't aim for shit, no matter how good they are at Counter-Strike. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so when they actually try these games out, they try and aim down their sights, and they just wonder why they're not getting any feedback. And it's like that's like a real gun
Game's
because
broken.
it's in the way, and the gun's blocking your view. Of what you're shooting at.
So you mentioned earlier on the show that your workshop area, whatever you'd like to call it, is covered in Vive sensors, and you've
Yes.
got that set up. So does that mean you're,
Envy.
working on these? You mentioned you
I
made
did,
a shooting
I
gallery.
did.
Have you been,
I made a really quick
experimenting?
prototype in Unity.
Yeah.
It was very, very quick and dirty. And it was just a load of red targets around you at various ranges.
Right.
All around you at 360 degrees.
Yeah.
But you couldn't move. You were on like a floating platform above the water. There's a video of it on our YouTube channel,
Okay.
mostly showing just me looking like a complete idiot. Because I'm in my office and I'm just basically going like,
It'll never not look
I'm
silly.
just going like
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
right? But it's
that's okay.
really good fun there, and I don't know. I think that's going to be one of the big genres. Even though I understand
for
what you're
sure.
saying, I think PC gamers are so in love with shooting people in the head.
Yeah, it's not
we're
that.
gonna-
I don't think it
there's
should
gonna be that
exist,
sort of game.
but I just this is an opportunity to kind of just, do some.
It's the easy answer, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it's not that it's
Yeah.
the I guess least interesting is different than it's what comes to mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
people
I
are
mean-
I played a VR demo on the new Samsung Gear at TwitchCon that was this little Adventure Time 3D platformer, and it was really fun. And
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting a 3D I wasn't expect if you told me third person platformers, which is one of my favorite genres, was gonna be great in VR.
Yeah.
I've been like, really?
Yeah.
That's what? And it is. It's great.
Yeah.
And that was the thinking behind shipping the controller, wasn't it? The Xbox
Yeah,
controller.
yeah,
And that
is.
didn't make any sense until I thought that actually you can look in on a game world, can't you, with a VR headset, and it gives you a sense of 3D that you don't necessarily get.
There's some development weight behind third-person games too. I mean, Insomniac's doing some
Yeah.
I forgot what it's called, but mountaineering Cthulhu-esque game, and Lucky's Tale is a third-person kind of homage to Mario 64 and stuff like that. So
I'm trying to find the Edge of Nowhere.
Edge of
That's
Nowhere.
the Oculus Rift. I believe it's Oculus Rift exclusive VR game that Insomniac is working on.
Yeah.
Which I really don't want there to be a platform war between Vive and Oculus.
Yeah.
And Wes wrote a thing about this on the site actually yesterday that was about how that's probably not going to happen because of the way that SDKs and Unity and stuff exports. It's really easy to make it be multi-platform. I just really hope that doesn't
I
happen.
think, yeah, and I agree with you for exactly the same reasons. And I mean, from a development perspective, I don't want to have to support like 9,000 different devices. It's going to be like Android, you know. It's just a horrible place to be for developers. So I'm hoping that there'll be standardization in there, you know, or just a couple of major candidates that, you know, you can support.
Well, I think the controllers will tend towards each other a little bit. Like at the
Yeah.
moment, each system has a slightly different input solution, and they're all different, and that's the problem because the control is so crucial to a VR game, and if you have to make two completely bespoke control systems,
but I do think about that a lot because I think the controllers in VR are actually incredibly important with the immersive experience.
Oh, definitely.
And just going back to what I was saying about the shooting gallery, right? As soon as when I was shooting with the pistol, it was brilliant. When I was shooting with the rifle, it was rubbish. You know, and it literally is brilliant to rubbish. Why? Because it felt like I was holding one. And
the
can
Vive
really
controller
see,
feels like a grip, doesn't it? It feels like a pistol grip, and it has a pistol trigger.
I can really see like just a load of new interface components, like almost shipping with your game, right? You go, this is the game and this is the peripheral. And maybe even if you like slotted in the electronics a bit, you know, so you didn't, it was just literally a plastic model into which you pop, you know, you pop the sensors.
Well, I think, I forget the developer, but they were making their own like VR helmet, doing some like Walking Dead VR game. I was reading about this
I
recently.
saw that at TwitchCon,
and they
actually.
had like a shotgun peripheral. And they were saying, like, all of the things I read about it said just having like a dumb, it wasn't even shaped exactly like a shotgun. It was just like a
just
long,
has to feel like
yeah,
it.
yeah. And people were like, it was pretty incredible.
Yeah. And you wouldn't.
Did you reload it? Did you have to?
Oh, I don't know.
Could you do it one-handed?
That'd be pretty cool.
That's the sort of thing everyone wants to do. That, don't they? Everyone wants to do the Terminator 2, like,
yeah.
you know, like
Absolutely.
there's a whole round
There's a hole
of.
in your ceiling now.
This is just basically Nintendo Land all over again, isn't it? With different peripherals for every game,
geez.
different bits of plastic for every single every video game.
Interesting to see how it all.
I could
all
see you
plays
having an
out.
armory in VR though. I could.
An armory.
Oh my
I could see you
god.
having a big
Open
cabinet.
your
Oh,
gun
man.
locker
Yeah.
of just black shapes.
Yeah, exactly.
Different weights and like side grip
yeah,
spots.
exactly. Yeah.
So let's jump to the Twitch chat Q&A part. If you are watching live on Twitch, tag us with @PCGamer in the chat, and we will be able to see where your questions are. For us about PC gaming things, for Chris or Mark about Prison Architect things, whatever's
Anything.
on your
Yeah,
mind.
anything. We'll answer anything.
And if you're listening
Shouldn't have said
after the fact, if you're listening after the fact on either YouTube or iTunes or our feed or on the site or wherever, I'm sorry we can't read your minds and we will not be answering your questions, but you can always join us Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time for the show live on twitch.tv/PCGamer. And I'll actually open up while we're waiting for some questions with my first question that relates to our last topic is Introversion's next game going to be a VR game? Do you think that's something you'd want to do? At least you don't have to be definitive, of course.
Why is
Yeah,
it? You know,
it's 5 years of work.
Why is it? We come in here and talk about Prison Architect, and they always say, "What's next?"
Yeah.
It's because you're about to end Prison Architect. That's
yeah,
why.
so everybody
It's-
wants to.
I'm curious.
Or
not end, but
just
come
do,
to 1.0.
do the maths, right? We've got an HTC Vive kit set up in Chris's office, right? Right? Figure
We've
it
got
out.
a video of me.
You know,
shooting-
figure it out. And you've heard me talk about VR, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
VR is very, very cool.
I don't think we would do a game that was exclusive for VR because it's too early. You know,
Yeah.
it's too
Right.
bleeding edge, and we couldn't take the risk. But we are both very, very excited about VR, Chris and I, and we've got Valve VR kits set up at home. I think it would be almost inconceivable that our next game would not be playable in VR.
Cool.
And that is an exclusive. That's a world exclusive.
Good answer. Good answer.
Just
Well, there you go. Thanks. Yeah. Did you see? I don't know if you saw that. Also, Justin Roiland, one of the co-creators of, if you know the show Rick and Morty, the cartoon show, he's working on VR games too. A lot of people are excited about the technology, the Vive specifically, of like being able to move and the body tracking of it. So that's very cool to hear that you guys are excited about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah,
you know, that's
for
the,
sure.
Excited, cautiously skeptical as well.
Of course.
You know, with how it's all actually gonna work out, because your mind immediately jumps to, wouldn't it be great if you could run around in this space? You know, and that is not. There are limitations. You know, that just stop that. So exactly how cool it's going to be and what's going to work, I think is still.
Well, that's why it's exciting though, because we don't have the vocabulary yet. I mean, nobody knows yet what the VR standards are going to be, and there will be VR standards within a few years. that everyone agrees is the best way to do something.
It's just we're right on the verge of seeing how this all come out. I feel like the whole industry is just like on the edge of their seat, just ready to see.
And there's an absolutely wonderful paint package for a Vive system called Tilt Brush, I think it is. Yeah. It's a paint package. You start off in just a black room, and you've got a drawing hand and a palette in your left hand, and you can move the palette around like this, and it's got colors all over it, and you can just pick the color you want.
Right.
And you can just paint in three-dimensional space all around you. You can just go, woo, and all these glowing colored lines appear around you. And within seconds, you're stood in the middle of a Daft Punk video because you've been drawing rainbows all over the place. And it's absolutely brilliant. It's like walking around a three-dimensional sketch, you know? It's really intuitive to run in a way that no other paint package has been, and it's just because it's VR.
Paint programs are exciting again.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because of VR, yeah.
So our first viewer question, Digital Imposter asks, what's been the hardest thing besides the time frame about going from Alpha 36 to version 1? So besides the time frame, like maybe making a feature or
I think probably
letting go.
Yeah, trying to get the quality bar up, I think, has been pretty tough. You know, there's always been a bit of a mindset that we're in alpha, so we just leave that bug. You know, we don't need to worry about that.
Yeah.
And then trying to sift through all the different sources of issues and issue lists that we need to fix to get it up to a point that we're proud of. That's been tough. But two features that we've got, I mean, one of the issues that we had is trying to get everyone to come back and play Prison Architect. So we've spoken about the campaign, but we've not spoken about escape mode yet. Escape mode turns the whole of Prison Architect on its head, and you play as a prisoner trying to escape from any of your prison or any of the other prisons on Steam. So it's a complete kind of inversion of Prison Architect's gameplay and tone. It's a huge amount of fun. Now, the campaigns, well, Prison Architect is fun, but in a different way, more cerebral.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a funny, silly game, isn't it?
Yeah.
You guys waited 4 years to make the game fun, is what you're telling me.
That's right. Yeah. It's all about.
Well, we did a demo this morning, and it kind of, and I raided the armory in escape mode, and it all kind of went Hotline Miami for a second.
Yeah, it did, Wow.
And that is quite far away from Prison Architect.
Yeah.
There have been a couple questions already asking if you could release escape mode at this very moment. So people are excited about it, apparently.
1 week you can play it, and that's been hard as well because everything else we've developed on a monthly basis, and we've put it out at the end of the month, and we've got feedback, and we've made it better, and we've keep building it. Escape mode and the campaign we've had to develop quietly in the background, so we've known how much fun we've been having, but we've not been able to talk about it, and we've also had to do that whilst getting alphas out the door as well, so that's been tough.
No, and you guys did correct me if I'm wrong, but there was an alpha a couple months back that was basically just like a bug destruction alpha.
Yeah, and that was secretly when we were working on the other stuff.
Gotcha.
So basically, the bug bashes, of which I think we did 3, was when Chris didn't work on the project. Everyone else worked on the project, and then Chris did a chapter, or he did escape mode.
Gotcha.
Or help with escape mode. It was our intern, actually.
Our secret's out.
Worked for escape mode. Intern saved companies.
Yeah.
Hear that, PC gamer?
Fly in Purple Hippo asks, which is a fly in the Purple Hippo, or is a Purple Hippo? Fly in Purple Hippo. There we go. So it is a flying. Okay, the lack of G caught me off guard there. I love Twitch chat names.
Yeah.
I absolutely love
What's
them.
the question?
There was none. I just wanted to see the name.
Just the username.
As
great username.
New VR game, Flying Purple Hippo.
What do you think about Cast AR? And is that I believe is that the Microsoft one, or is that a different one?
I don't know.
I've not heard of.
I don't know what that is.
HoloLens is Microsoft.
It's augmented reality glasses. So we can talk about this in
HoloLens.
general of just.
It's a HoloLens.
Well, HoloLens, I believe, is different. I think
This will be from Flying Purple Hippo, are the developers of the Cast AR system.
But in general, we can talk about what do you guys think of augmented reality compared to virtual reality? If you've used it or
I haven't. I've not used it. I've heard bad things about HoloLens. You know that
The field of view.
That's the main complaint I've heard
It's
too.
a
Is that in the field of view that it works really well, but that view is way too small.
I do not understand why that's happened because the Oculus system and the HTC Vive system, you put the helmet on, it's all around you. So there must be some technical reason why, because you don't actually see through the lens, right? It has a camera and it augments the graphics on top. As I understand it, and then that's what you see. Yeah. So I don't understand why they made the decision to limit the field of view to the middle. It makes no sense to me.
I think it's all early stuff. Like I would imagine they're capable or will be capable
Dunno.
eventually, but
There's probably
it's
some
weird to show it like
deep technical.
But
and that's what I think.
the
They've showed
videos,
it.
the videos are like you're walking around in Minecraft in your living room.
Yeah.
But actually, if
you
it's
can
like
still
this,
see
then-
like your sweaty dad over here. Like, it's
I like the idea of AR actually. I think
I
AR,
like the idea of
I-
it too.
I think AR is as exciting as VR actually. I think like the idea of AR horror. You know, that just like sends a shiver down my spine. You know, VR horror will be cool. You know, but AR horror, because you don't take it off, right? Because when you take your AR headset off, you're still where you were before. You're not even looking at a screen. You know, so I think there are as many exciting opportunities with AR as there are with VR. But I just don't think we're there. You know, who's made the AR technology that allows you to look at a room and just lasers something onto your eyeball?
feels a
or
little
whatever?
further off.
It does.
I mean, I imagine like the idea will be that there's a VR AR singularity where the thing you wear on your face can do both.
Maybe, yeah.
But I don't know. The technology just like hasn't been shown off like really well yet.
I mean, and in general, like, I think what might have happened is the hype for VR kind of pushed AR technology out the door a little too early. Like, Valve's been working on their VR technology for years,
Yeah.
like longer than Oculus has existed.
But Valve have done it really well, you know. They waited and waited. Then they had their quiet dev days, right, which was kind of invitation only. You know, come and see our stuff. They didn't tell anybody what they were doing. You know, they just kind of gave like real encouragement. You really guys need to come here. You know, otherwise you regret it if you don't come. And then they got all the feedback from the developers. And when you put that headset on, the first experience was amazing, you know. And then they got all the feedback from developers, and then they started to go public with it, and they're still not quite launched, you know. Oculus took a different route, but for different reasons, right? I don't know his name, I forget it, but he needed his Kickstarter funding, and he's done incredibly well with it, and well done to him, you know. But then Microsoft come along and go, yeah, and here's HoloLens. You know, it's like, quick, engineers go. When are you not just gonna fuck off and get something right? You know, you know, how have you done this again? How have you botched it again? You know, by pretending, we can make them really excited by faking it. Yeah, but it's like fucking
HoloLens 3 will be brilliant, won't it?
It's like Kif and the guy out of Futurama. You know, when the guys we'll do it now, and then we go, but sir, it doesn't work. But they'll never know. They'll know next week when they put their hands on it. Shut up, Kif. You know, and it's just like once again, you could have like.
The thing about it is the demo they did when they first showed the Minecraft world coming out of the box, you know, in 3D, and it was the cameraman was on stage, wasn't he, filming it?
Yeah.
And it looked like it was there on stage.
Yeah.
And just for a second, you get a glimpse of what their vision is, and you think that is brilliant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I can have that, if I can just have a massive cinema screen on my living room wall that doesn't really exist, or I can be playing games when I'm bored in a conversation with somebody.
Now go
That's
away for
brilliant.
2 to 3 years and make it
Yeah,
work,
yeah.
and then
Come
come
back
back
I need
to
a
it.
when
field
you're
of view
ready.
that's all
Come back
around.
when you're
Right?
ready.
It can't be a little. I don't have to look through a telescope to see my VR world.
There was a Google thing recently, wasn't there? There was like this little Google like weird tech demo place. You know, everyone went and like worked with his new Google stuff. Like there was a bit of fabric and it was touchscreen. You know, but that's all it was. It was just a bit of fabric on a table showing, you know, this was some tech that Google were working on. You know,
Yeah.
And it was just like, we'll just give you a few glimpses of kind of what we're working on, and we'd love to get your feedback. It was a much more open and honest way, in my mind, of dealing with novel technology and new things, you know. And that would have been the right place to debut the HoloLens, and everybody would have been excited about it rather than going, yeah, shit. You know, which is basically what everyone's saying, right? Because
everyone that's tried it says it's a great idea, but there's one major problem. That seems to be like the consistent. That's their key message. It must be Microsoft's key message. Must be that there's one big problem. Because that seems to be the press that they keep getting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hopeful for it because I do think that there is. I actually think they're quite similar in the sense that it is just a big wide display, and whether you fill your display with an all-enclosing VR world, or whether you just overlay your graphics on top of a camera feed, is actually only a relatively minor difference, isn't it? Because the Vive system will track your position perfectly within a room. The Vive system will happily have you position something on a table in your room if it had a camera. It doesn't right now have a camera, but it seems like they're actually not that far apart. You know, the separation is more in this idea that there's something fundamentally different between the two of them, but there isn't really.
Right.
You know, they're both tracking you in 3D space and then rendering something over that. It's just that the Vive renders it over your whole view.
I was really interested in a lot of the stuff the Vive or the HoloLens showed of like work stuff, like looking at a desk and like having things appear on there, and I was kind of almost more interested in that than its gaming potential.
Yeah, and I think with VR as well, I worry about fatigue. You know, like we all think of Minority Report, whatever, but I think actually just try having your hands up here, you know,
Right.
for more than like a couple of minutes, you know, and see how fatigued you're actually going to get, you know, working in that kind of space. So I don't know, and I think there'll be a lot of hype over that as well. I think there'll be a lot of hype over this actually makes you more productive versus I am being more productive, you know?
I'm surprised as well. I'm surprised that Minecraft made its way to Oculus, actually, because I thought that was going to be Microsoft's secret weapon with the HoloLens, that this is where you get the VR version of Minecraft.
Well, who was it? Oh God, somebody from Oculus said that he was gonna cry if Minecraft didn't come.
Carmack. Right?
Yeah, John Carmack said that if the Oculus Minecraft deal didn't come through, he would have cried. he said that in his off the cuff unscripted talk though, so you know, take
But
it
now it's
with a
fact.
grain of salt. Yeah, it's in the books.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that's good. Yeah.
thank you very much, everyone, for your questions. Let's play some Prison Architect, I think. If you guys have got the final build, which is coming out
Yeah,
next Tuesday
absolutely.
to show off.
Yeah.
For those of you listening to the iTunes podcast, unfortunately, we're actually going to snip this part out because it will be almost entirely visual. But you can watch it on youtube.com/PCGamer or on our Twitch VODs at twitch.tv/PCGamer, or if you just come watch the show live when we do demos, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. But what do you guys got to show off? You have the full build, which you completed on the plane.
Yes,
Yeah.
I made the final scene.
So you say that, but I'm
So
sure
fresh.
tonight he'll get his jet lag. And he'll be like, "Hey guys, you know."
Yeah, well, we can show you whatever you like. I mean, so should we show you the core game, or would
So-
you like to see the new stuff?
There's a lot of cry for escape mode in the chat,
curious.
and it's what I'm most curious about
let's
too.
start-
I'd
let's
love to
start
see
with
some
escape
escape
mode.
mode.
All right,
Yeah.
let's go straight for escape mode. No messing around here. All right, so yeah, interesting thing about escape mode is it's our newest mode, and every time I demo it, it goes completely differently.
Really?
It's very unpredictable. It's kind of like your worst nightmare when it comes to demoing.
Well, that's kind of. It sounds like the worst nightmare comes to demoing, but kind of the best case scenario when it comes to the actual gameplay
Just
mode.
playing,
Yeah, it's quite unpredictable. Yeah, I mean, so it does. So to give you some background, this is how it opens. You arrive by a prisoner jail bus. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we got it. It's fine.
Yeah. So this is me down here,
Uh-huh.
right? And
Oh, that's great.
dressed as Mario.
dressed
we
as
don't-
Mario. Yeah. You can thank
We
our
don't know
artists for
why.
that one.
Yeah. That's Chris. Whenever you come into the prison, you come in your civilian clothes, and our artist just thought it was really funny to dress Chris and me as Mario and Luigi. So whenever we end in someone's
Last
prison
time it was
space,
Santa and an elf, wasn't
Yeah.
it? And then various characters. So you get the inverse experience, right? In that you're brought in by the guard, handcuffed, and taken to your cell. You don't know where your cell's going to be. You can see there's a fog of war as well, that you actually can't see anything. It's all black and white.
Right.
So you can see that your visibility expanding as you go around corners.
And did you make this prison? Is this your personal design?
This
or?
is one of our test prisons. I didn't make
Okay.
this. I think it's originally a Steam Workshop prison that we have made use of for its excellent potential for demoing escape mode and for things going disastrously wrong.
Great.
It's a good question that you ask, because we can obviously any of the prisons that we've got in the Steam Workshop we can use for escape mode.
Yeah.
So we joke sometimes that we've spent 5 years creating the level editor for escape mode, basically.
That is essentially how it is. I mean, it began life. So this is me, and I control me by WASD, and I can just walk around.
Even just like having watched so much Prison Architect, like just seeing you control an individual character is like very weird. It's like
strange.
Yeah, it
I-
is, isn't
in,
it?
In its entire development, I've literally never seen this moment happening in the
Yeah.
game. So
Yeah.
it is a huge thing for you guys to kind of just spring on the last update.
Well, there was a clue, actually. We can't remember which alpha it was, but because we've forgotten. Someone will tell us, I'm sure. But one of the alphas, Chris thought it would be funny if you had too many deaths in your prison as a game over event. You, as the warden, would go to your own prison, right? And you could like WASD around your own prison.
It was a
Ah.
punishment.
So it was a punishment.
It
for
was
you.
a
So,
game over event,
You
wasn't
know
it?
exactly. Yeah.
You've been convicted of corporate manslaughter. As if you had too many deaths within your prison, and you would arrive at your own prison, and then you couldn't really do anything. You would just you would arrive in handcuffs, and that was kind of it. That was the joke. And then so we just went mad and expanded that into an entire game mode.
Wow.
Is there game sound? Do we have game sound working?
We do, yeah.
All right, good. That's
They
cool.
can- they can
We
all
just
hear it.
can't hear it.
Yeah, we can't hear it, but the viewers will be able to.
That's fine then. So, what do you actually have to do? Well, I mean, the clue is in the name, obviously. You have to escape.
And this isn't one of
You
the
either have
prisons
to
that Mark
mode
was
or
mentioning
escape.
earlier. One of the no-fence walkout prisons.
No,
No,
this isn't,
no,
this
this
isn't
is a
that,
little
no.
bit harder
It's a
than
little
that,
bit
yeah.
harder than that. So you have to figure out how you're going to escape. So a simple starting point. Anyone that's played Prison Architect would know that a cleaning cupboard is one of the places prisoners can steal weapons, because it's where you can. There's loads of mops and things in here. That's the idea, and so you can snap the end off a mop, and it becomes a weapon. And this is genuinely what your prisoners will steal from cleaning cupboards,
Right.
if you don't keep an eye on them. It's like, well, there happens to be no guard in here right now, so I can click on this and pick up this club, and now I have a weapon. Right? And it's the same. It's always the same. Anything in the sandbox that your prisoners are able to steal, you can steal in the game.
So the whole contraband system and
It's all
the
there.
digging system. Can you tunnel as well?
Yes, you
can.
can.
That's
If
great.
you have
Show
a
you that,
sufficient
yes.
digging tool.
Right, right.
I'll show you that in a bit.
So we're
Didn't
nobody
mean
in
to
this.
get ahead of myself there.
That's
Sorry.
fine.
Yeah, that's okay,
Let's
yeah.
get to the end. We're nobody in this prison right now. No one knows who we are. We don't have. And your prison, your reputation is is like the RPG system that runs through escape mode. So we're nobody at the moment, but we can upgrade our character with all of these different properties if we have reputation. And the way to get reputation is to be a maniac. Okay? Because other prisoners respect you if you are a maniac.
Right, of course.
So we'll be a maniac by beating up this cleaner who's been hanging around in here. Right, so if we just smack the hell out of that cleaner and then maybe wait. Actually, it's quite difficult without audio cues. I can't tell whether guards are
Oh no.
gonna come in after us, right? So if we just smash this place up already, the theory is that other prisoners are going, oh my god, he's a maniac. He's only just arrived and he's already picking a fight with these guards, right?
And you're slowly getting where you have like that little +4 there.
We're getting, so that is our reputation slowly ticking up. It's kind of like experience points, but it's framed in terms of oh wow, that was good, wasn't it? Oh wow, I'll have some of that.
You beat him, yeah.
Yeah.
that other prisoner's just grabbing
the keys.
Where did that guy go? We're following him.
We told you it was unscripted.
Where did he go? He's making.
Oh,
Oh,
he's
got
getting
stuck.
speed up.
Go for it, man. This is your moment. No, you don't use keys as a weapon, you idiot.
He's not very
Oh, you
bright.
got knocked out.
So we got knocked
Yeah.
unconscious, so it doesn't matter what happened to him. Right. So
Wow.
what happened?
Were you going for the keys? Were you trying to grab those, or?
I was, but he picked them up too quickly.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so that's just a little bit of anarchy going on there. Another prisoner saw our fight, saw the opportunity to pick up the keys, and then made
That's
a run
great.
for it.
That's
all right?
great.
So we've been knocked unconscious. We're due 11 hours in solitary confinement now. And so rather than that being the only thing that we see in the remainder of this demo, we can choose to skip our punishments and go straight back to our cell. So we've served our 11 hours in solitary, we've been healed up, and we're ready to try again.
Is that an option in the actual game, or is that just
Yes,
a
it
dev
is.
command?
It costs you 1 reputation.
Okay.
Right, so if you start a fight and only get 1 reputation point, you have to spend it to overcome your punishment.
Mm.
So there's a
Uh-huh.
minimum level of trouble that you have to cause
gotta go all out.
before it becomes worth your while.
Uh-huh.
So now that we have some reputation points, so the idea behind skipping, I should mention, is that this is not meant to be a grindy game that takes hours and hours to play.
Right.
This isn't meant to be The Witcher or anything like that. You know, or
I think
Dark
you mean
Souls.
Gwent. This isn't meant to be
Yeah,
Gwent.
it's meant to be quick and fun, right?
Yeah.
And so we never want you to be sitting around bored. So with those points, I can upgrade my character. So these are the reputations that prisoners have in the sandbox.
Ah.
Some prisoners will arrive and they'll be very tough, and it means that they can withstand a lot more punishment in a fight. That'll make us last longer in a fight. Some prisoners can be deadly, and deadly means that you can. If sometimes when you punch guards, you will knock them unconscious immediately with your 1 punch, because you're like some kind of Bruce Lee psycho, you know. And they're good ones to get. You can get quick, which means that you can run around a lot faster. And you can see that already there's a little bit of RPG type stuff going on, so I think we'll go for quick. The other thing that you can do is I need to go and find some other prisoners.
And have you switched to a red jumpsuit now, so you're like a high-risk
Yes,
prisoner?
because we yes, well spotted actually. Because we beat the hell out of that guard, and we're involved in a fairly major incident.
You're high security
We're
now?
considered maximum security now,
Right.
which means that the guards will respond to us differently. They'll and it's just as in the sandbox, they are less forgiving and less willing to let you surrender.
Gotcha.
You know. Let's see. Oh dear, don't want to do that. I need to find some prisoners. There's some. So we've still got 3 reputation points left. So I can recruit other prisoners to join my cause. using my reputation points. Right? Because I have a rep now, these guys want to join up with me. So this guy as well, let's have him too. So he's already deadly, it tells me in this right-hand tooltip. So you can see my guys have already got a little arrangement of stats, right? And so now there's 3 of us, you know? Now we can cause more trouble, and now we can get more reputation points by causing more trouble. In fact, I think we might just make use of this convoy of dead bodies walking past. But, oh, there's too many guards, isn't there? Should we go for it anyway?
Yeah, go for it.
No,
anyway.
actually, I'm going to steal some weapons. Let's steal some weapons. Let's go up here into the workshop. The workshop is the worst place for contraband in the sandbox. And so the same is true in escape mode. We can steal hammers, we can steal knives, we can dig escape tunnels with a wooden, that's a wooden pickaxe. It's like the best escape tool you can get because it doesn't set the metal detectors off. You know? So in the meantime, we'll just go with some of these weapons, I think. We'll tool up. So I'll take that. And I can switch guys with this toolbar. So now I'm controlling the next guy.
This is incredibly deep. Like,
It
this
is.
is way, way deeper than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
thank
cool.
you. Yeah. Well, it's Prison Architect.
Right.
Everything that we're playing off here
It feels like it
is
just
the
turned the
sandbox.
sock inside out, and it.
Exactly.
Did you find it conveniently kind of like worked? You like discovered like when you were making this, like, oh my god, there's this whole
Well,
mode kind of.
It was like there was a tremendous amount of stuff already there for us
Right,
to
yeah,
play on.
yeah.
You know, when we were thinking about like what mechanism are we going to allow the player to get weapons, that already existed in the sandbox. So we're pretty tooled up now. Right, so I think this card doesn't really stand a chance.
But you're right. It was, you know, when the idea kind of came to us when we were thinking about it, it was like, oh my god, have we just created an entire
here we go.
other game?
All right,
you
let's
know,
have this guy.
that has the potential possibly to dwarf the first game. You know.
Yeah.
You know, that's we just don't know. It's not in the wild yet, is it? But you know,
It's
could it be?
And
There
it,
are-
you can download maps through Workshop.
Oh
right?
shit!
Oh god!
No! Surrender! Surrender! Oh wow! Right. Well, 2 of my guys got shot there, and 1 of my guys is unconscious. So you remember I was saying earlier about how sometimes escape mode goes a little funny, you know?
So is that guy Clark now your main character?
Yeah. I was
Oh,
lucky
you
that
can just carry on.
I was lucky that I recruited 2 other guys because my main guy, Delays, he's dead. He took a shotgun to the face,
And that would have been game over.
at close range.
If we didn't have anyone else.
Wow.
in
Yeah,
the posse.
but I still have 1 guy left, you know, so it's all fine. Skip punishments. All right, so now I've got 1 guy, and he looks a little bit sad, doesn't he? actually?
Aw.
Buddy's died.
Where is
Yeah.
buddies?
Oh, right.
But that's not going to stop him.
No.
All right, so shall we? What should we try?
Dig
Should
a, dig a tunnel, mate.
should we dig
Give
an
it-
escape tunnel?
Yeah, you can get.
Alright.
Yeah, see if you can get that
I'll
pickaxe.
spend some rep points. Quick, because I've got quick, I can hold down shift and sprint. I can go shh. Just really handy. That's what I should have done when the armed guards arrived. I should have sprinted. You can surrender as well. That's why during a fight at any point you can press space to surrender. That's there because you do have a good chance of running into armed guards. And obviously you want the rep points, but the rep points are no use to you if you're, you know, a bloody stain on the floor.
Mate, you should demo surrendering because I think it's really funny.
All right, yeah. All right, well, I'll do an escape tunnel first.
Okay,
So
okay.
here's my. So I picked up a wooden pickaxe. I'm actually going to take 2. I think. Let's try this one as well.
Do they break? Is that why? Or?
Yes, they only last a certain period of time.
So I imagine you're not like hiding dirt in your pant leg and going out to the yard and like dropping.
No,
it
we
or
don't. We don't go to that kind of level.
Okay.
That was in the feature list. Like that was going to be. Well, in the sandbox, the prisoners who were digging escape tunnels were going to drop little pools of like sand in the
Yeah.
yard, and it would be a clue to you that,
Oh,
that
that's amazing.
somebody was digging a tunnel.
That's
we,
incredible.
We never
You
got
just
around
get
to
little
it.
piles of different
Yeah.
colour, you know.
Uh-huh.
All right, so I've gone back to my cell, so I can pick up my my pickaxe and right click. That makes a tunnel. Let's see. Here we go. So now we're tunneling, you know.
So if you remember from the main game, when you lay big pipes, big water pipes, they're routes for prisoners to kind of
What's going
Shawshank
on?
their way through.
Right.
What happened to us there? I think we got
You got
beaten
knocked unconscious.
up. I think we got beaten up by a guy on the ground, and now I'm nervous. We've had a few bugs with escape mode.
Uh-huh.
Obviously none anymore because it's version 1.
Yeah.
Right.
Bug
Yeah.
free. But
Oh,
there we go.
yeah.
We're fine. Sometimes, not this time, but sometimes you could get buried alive because the workmen would come and fill in the tunnel and you would be stuck underground
Oh my goodness.
forever. And that was the end of your escape attempt.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how you do escape tunnels. So let's do.
And because we're in an outside cell there, which is quite close to the outside wall, we would have been out really quickly.
Yeah.
So anybody that
we were lucky
wanted
there,
to,
because we were right by the edge.
Only a couple.
Oh,
more
so just
cells.
over that wall was.
Yeah, and that's it. We would have come out, and it would have won. But Chris
So-
wants to do a more exciting escape.
So playing escape
Well, I
mode
actually
kind of
did,
also can like tell you how you need to like shore up your own
Absolutely,
own
absolutely.
prison.
Yeah. You
And-
discover the sources of where things have been stolen from. Maybe no one realized that that's where all the pickaxes were coming from.
Can you cause the prison to like the warden to get fired by killing too many prisoners or stuff like that? Or
Now that's a good question. I don't actually
down
know
the
the
whole
answer to that. I don't actually know the answer. Wow. Let's see.
and likewise, if as a warden you get sent to your own prison, can you now escape now that escape mode is in the game?
Yes, that happens automatically now. So what was previously just a silly punishment in which you couldn't do anything
Is now becomes
is now
escape
a
mode.
whole game mode in its own right that you can choose to play or not. It's kind of up to you. So
But
I'm
they
just-
don't hire you back, I imagine, if you escape.
That's right. Yeah. You need to do your time.
Let's see. All right, I'm hiring some more guys so that I have enough.
That guy looks like Conan O'Brien, like straight up the redhead
Just a little
one.
bit, yeah. Look
Yeah.
at that. See if we can get him involved. So it's nighttime, isn't it? So I should probably go. Let's have him as well. I'm trying to make a bigger squad so that I can try something a bit more dangerous. So I'm going to cheat now. You don't mind if I cheat, do you?
No, please, for the sake of the stream.
Because obviously it can take you a while to build up your guys.
Yeah.
I'm just going to. Yeah, so these guys are all following me now. So I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to dish out some reputation to these guys. So if you just imagine that we'd caused an absolutely almighty ruckus and upgraded all my guys, I'm going to give them all extra tough as well. Let's see. Tough. And maybe deadly.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so we're basically walking tanks at this point. And I'm going to cheat and make it daytime as well. There we go. So I happen to know on this map that there is an armory on the level. And the armory is down there. Okay, you see it there?
Yeah.
See where it says armory?
Yeah.
And this security room, that's what we've got to get through.
Okay.
All right. But the good news is, they might not focus all of their attention on me straight away. Right?
Tool up, mate. Tool up.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll switch to. You reckon? All right, fine.
It's just up there, isn't it?
Mark thinks we should go in here and tool up.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's have some wooden weapons.
So you're taking over a security
I'm going to try and get
outpost
through the security room. It's in the way.
with broken mob ends.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to lose. We're going to lose, right? This whole strategy, it's like rolling the dice, okay?
Okay.
Either we'll make it through to the armory and we'll be fine, and nobody will be able to stop us, or we'll all be killed in the attempt.
Yeah,
But
we're not
either
trying
way,
to take the security room. We're just trying to get through it to the armory. Once we've got to the armory, then we're going to take the security room and the rest of the
Well, then
and
we
the
won't
rest of
need to take the
prison.
security room.
Yeah. So all we need to do is just hold them off while one of them gets through the
yeah.
gets into the armory.
All right, let's see.
Nervous.
Yeah, I know. Yes, let's see.
Here we go.
Now, in order to get through that door, I need those keys. There we go. I've nicked some keys.
And
Oh
that's
my
quick.
goodness.
That's quick.
There we go. I'm in. I'm having that shotgun. I'm taking the hits.
By God.
All right, now we're talking. And now's when we channel our inner Hotline Miami fanboy. Right, and oh yeah, you can.
Is there
Maybe
friendly
we can go this-
fire?
Can we go this way? Oh wow. No, our own team are fine. So this. Oh, you guys need to leave. Okay. All right, I think this is it. Let's try. Whoa, dear. Okay.
Wow.
So you can see our reputation points just go silly at this point.
Yeah.
because Now, well, I mean, what prisoner now wouldn't want to join in at this point? All right. So. Screw you, dog.
Aww.
Oh, I killed the dog.
Like he just
And
killed
with
like
that,
12 people, and then the dog
yeah.
dies, and we're like,
Just
well, how
Always the
could
way
you?
that-
how it works.
Yeah,
That's
you're
how
a
it works.
monster.
All right, come on. All right, okay. Well, this is actually going pretty well. All four of us are still here. So.
And like you said, this is not like you did cheat to get these
I
perks
cheated.
up, but this is not meant to take you like 8 hours to
Yeah,
get to
yeah,
this
no,
point.
Oh, okay. So this is where we might have a problem because there are armed guards out here.
Okay.
All right. In fact, what I'm actually going to do is just for redundancy reasons, I'm going to go and pick up this shotgun. So I've got 2. Now 2 more. Oh shit. Okay.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Retreat. Okay. It's quite.
I've never seen you escape from this. I've never seen you
I don't
shoot
think
your
I've
way
ever.
out of this one.
Have I ever
No.
actually managed it? I need to be that guy. You.
Wow.
Screw you, workman. No, I'll let him live reflexively.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Still got
Yeah,
the
it's
keys. Come on, fellas.
Thank goodness for skeleton keys
That's it.
there.
What? What?
Oh, you got the last
No,
guy.
my guy's unconscious. Right, you're fired. I fired him from the squad.
Sorry, buddy.
There you go.
That's it.
That's great.
So there you go. 2 guys died, including me. So that's kind of a shame. And you get a score on how long it took you. So that's obviously 1 day, 3 hours of game time. So I cheated a bit there. But with 3 or 4 guys, causing a massive fight in the canteen is the kind of thing that will give you enough rep points to upgrade your whole squad to that kind of level. You know? That particular, and you could tunnel to the armory as well. One of the other options you could do, if you're close enough, is tunnel in the direction of the armory and then dig up into the armory and raid it that way. Or you can just dig an escape tunnel to the exit. You know? So there's several ways to escape.
So you escaped, but at what cost? As you died
My
initially.
own person was killed.
Do you get to choose your character at the beginning? Is there like an editor or?
You can do it from, yes, so under the names in the game list. So this is like, so we've got 20,000 people that paid extra to have their names in the game.
Oh.
And so I'm in there somewhere. I've actually had my character digitized. So there's me. And you just tick this little box that says, this is me.
Oh,
So if you're one of the 20,000 people that bought that tier, you can say, this is me. And then whenever you play this game mode, you'll transfer in as you with your bio and your physical appearance.
Very cool.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was significantly deeper than I was expecting. Like I was expecting to be much more of kind of like a small little side mode, but it feels like you said, if you wanted to specifically play the building part to design prisons for escape attempts and
Should be interesting.
alternatively like just wanted to play escape attempts, you could do that.
And there were 12,000 prisons on the prison architect Steam workshop.
Wow.
So and you can we even have a button in the menu that says pick a random Steam workshop prison for me.
Fun.
So you
Oh
have
my
no idea
goodness.
what you're going to get. You might be arriving at somewhere that has a holding cell and a lake. You know, and that might be a lot. You're rolling the dice. You know?
Yeah.
Somebody's already made a dedicated escape mode map, which has some sort of combination lock electronic device that you have to step on the floor, step on the pressure plates in the right order to open the doors.
I was going to say these can become very puzzly dungeony almost things.
There's definitely there's definitely a possibility for a kind of puzzle escape mode map where there's a little bit of a mystery about exactly what order to do things.
We've kind of joked that even though we're launching version 1 on Tuesday, escape mode is in alpha.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of true, right? Because like with every other aspect of the game, as soon as it's out there in the wild next week, we'll start looking at how people are playing it and what we can do to kind of support the community to create prisons with that like dungeon element that you're talking about and things, and how we can set up the tags properly on Steam to really make it great fun for you to know which prisons are good to escape from.
Yeah.
And also like give feedback perhaps to people saying nobody has ever escaped from your prison. Wouldn't that be a great challenge? I mean, perhaps probably the game at the moment, I don't know whether it would be possible to set it up so it is actually impossible. But if that were to occur,
You can make it very hard. If the guards have got tasers and there's armed guards everywhere, as soon as you cause trouble, you just get a shotgun to the face.
but I'm sure there's some
you have
Michael
quite-
Schofield out there somewhere that will that will figure out how
prison
to
break style. Yeah,
figure out how to do it. Should we show a bit of just like building prisons and stuff, because there might be some people out there that have never seen
Possibly.
that. We got
Yeah,
time for
please.
that.
Let's definitely do that.
So just go. I mean, talk
So-
about the campaign, mate, just briefly, where it starts. Introduction.
Yeah, I mean, we now have this is brand new in version 1 as well, the 5-part campaign.
Cool.
And I don't want to spoil the stories in any way whatsoever.
Okay.
The Death Row Chapter 1 is the old introduction from the sandbox,
right.
where you build a death row facility and you're taught the basics of the game at the same time. I mean, essentially, we just love films and TV shows about prisons, and the characters in them are always really dodgy characters and like really interesting, dubious people, and that's what kind of. It's a way to tell stories about life in prison and the things that affect prisoners. So we're trying to do that in our campaign.
Very cool.
And by the time you've played through the campaign, the open sandbox should feel a little less intimidating. Because you kind of you're ready to build entire prisons from scratch.
And that's what you were talking about a bit about, like wanting to have more of a curve, a difficulty curve, and a
That's
learning
right.
curve.
That's right. It's very much throughout the alpha, we didn't care at all about how hard you found this game. You know, we built our audience that was quite hardcore. They knew it was going to be hardcore, whereas now we want there to be a nice, easy ramp up where you're learning what to do. And also, not everybody is interested in building their own prison and exploring their own kind of creativity. Whereas the story mode, there's probably about 10 hours of gameplay in there to play through it, to build the prisons and just partake in the story. So I think that there's a whole other side of the game now that will interest people that aren't interested in kind of just free-form kind of creativity, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, we can jump in. We can show off a little bit of this,
Okay.
and a little bit of just kind of the basic
A little bit of
building.
sandbox, a little bit of
for
sandbox
sure.
building.
I mean,
You
this
can
is
show us
new.
how
This
you
is
like to
actually,
build a prison.
This is actually a new feature. This is actually the first time anybody has ever seen this.
Oh, so you can actually choose
Accidentally,
your warden.
we now have a selection of 6 wardens to pick from that each grant a slightly different special power.
Oh, very cool.
They affect the way that your prison runs, and that's the default warden. So these guys are our top tier customers. Like way back when this thing first launched, we had a $1,000 tier where you could buy the game and you could choose a special power and an appearance of a warden,
Wow,
and that's what these guys are coming in the full game.
very cool.
So a good example, that's fun, a good example. So Rita, for example, you know, her backstory makes her ruthless and terrifying, and she's just basically a master of making everyone terrified. So it gives you extra powers over prisoners who are stoical or fearless, which means they're the prisoners that traditionally are not fazed by being thrown in solitary confinement. And so, you know, it makes her prison a much nastier place. This guy, for example, he's a sapper in the war, and he never says which war, but he certainly knows everything about digging tunnels. So he makes your guard dogs much more effective at finding escape tunnels.
Very cool.
And it's a choice, you know.
And this is a very nice kind of like example of like Kickstarter or like backers like that,
Yeah, exactly.
like getting into a game without it feeling like forced in at all. It
Yeah.
feels like this is just a natural
Absolutely.
part of this game.
These are all their ideas entirely. We said to them, you know, these are the kind of sort of special abilities that we want you to have, you know, something that just subtly changes the whole kind of sandbox.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
of course, we
yeah,
can't
not
predict.
game breaking, and they're definitely
Yeah.
a subtle change rather than like the whole game is now pointless.
Yeah.
because of this warden. Yeah, all right. So should we try? Let's build something, shall we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
jump
I
on
mean,
in.
This
So-
is the sandbox, right? This is what we had for 36 alphas that people would manage to figure out what to do. It's kind of, I mean, after 3 years of development, it's fairly intimidating to start from absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Um,
So real quick, I'm actually going to run off just for a moment. Build away.
Okay.
And
Build away.
James,
No
you
problem.
haven't played in a long time, right?
No, so I'm curious.
play the part of the newbie, which I
I
know
will.
you can do well. I'll be back in just a moment, everyone.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So the basics are: so you've got this is your land, and there's a road. You know, this is your deliveries being brought in. Your first bunch of workmen, and in less than 24 hours, your first batch of prisoners will be arriving. So that straight away is your primary objective, right? Where are they going to go? Because if you don't build anything, then
They run away.
it makes the easiest escape mode ever because they have nowhere to live.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, we're massive Dwarf Fortress fans, massive Dungeon Keeper fans. You know, a core principle of those games is that you don't do anything yourself other than instruct your guys to do things for you. So I'm going to instruct my guys to make a building like this. Right? You just drag out a nice shape. This is what I want my guys to make, and they spring to life and start picking up all the raw materials and building that building for me. It tells me that I need an entrance, obviously.
Right.
Every building needs an entrance, so I need to put a door on this thing, say here. So what we're building, the first thing we have to build is somewhere for that first batch of prisoners to go. So we need a holding cell. And we're not going to manage to build a whole jail in 24 hours with loads of cells and everything and a canteen and everything. So we need to start from the absolute basics, which is just a secure room to put them in. So in order to tell the game that this is going to be the holding cell, I have to mark it. I have to designate it as a holding cell from the rooms menu. And I do that like this. And there we go. There's our holding cell, right? Job done. I mean, not quite. Yeah. I mean, the game tells you, the idea is the game always tells you what you have failed to do so far.
Right.
So it's telling me that I need, at the bare minimum, to not be pulled up on gross human right violations. I need a toilet and a bench, which doesn't sound like very much, does it?
No.
But that's just the basics. You can put other things in there. And it's also telling me that there's no power in this new room. So I also need to take care of that. Power and electricity is all dealt through in a different view on the world, the utilities view. And from this view, I can make my power station and drag in some power cables. This is basically our SimCity electrical wiring mode. You know, you ever play SimCity and get kind of obsessed with wiring up all of your city blocks perfectly? You know, it's a little bit like that. Again, your workmen do all the work. You know, you never do it yourself.
Satisfying to see him scurry around.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right from the very start, actually, right from the very first version. I'm talking like 5 years ago now. Just watching your workmen do your bidding.
Feels like
You
work.
know.
Actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of that not sourced from, but like it's that same kind of Dwarf Fortress feel, right? Of
Yeah.
like watching, not controlling your guys, but telling
Yeah.
them what to do and watching them run around and do it.
You're watching something very intricate play out in front of you.
Exactly.
And this is only very simple. How long do we have? Like, what kind of time do we have?
We
to
got
do
about like
this?
25 minutes.
All right,
if
that's
you
cool
wanna
then. That's fine. That affects how much I show you.
go. Yeah.
So it was telling us that we need some toilets and some benches. So we'll put them in. We'll put some toilets in and some benches. The game.
right by the front door.
Yeah, right. By the front. Oh, you got a problem with
It's
that?
like watching people
Oh,
poo.
all right, I'll do it differently then. Okay, I'll put them down this side. Okay. How about like this?
Yeah, that's
Then at
much-
least
much better.
you don't have to lock
I
eyes
don't
with the
have to
guy
rush 'em.
walking
Yeah,
in.
That's
right?
right.
Well, I
Moving
can
and
be-
straining.
It's completely optional. I mean, I can actually build little booths around them. Do you want me to build little booths around
Yeah,
them?
give them a bit of privacy
A
today.
little bit of privacy around my prisoners. They don't have anywhere to eat, okay?
Yeah.
And they're not allowed outside, but we'll give them a bit of privacy.
It's the little things really in
Yeah.
life.
And we'll put some doors in there, shall we? There you
Yeah,
go.
put
There's
some doors in there, mate.
So there you go. So we've got some toilets,
This
benches,
is the nicest holding cell I've ever seen him.
some benches. Now you can also, because I know the prisoners are going to be in there for a while, I'm going to put some beds in, because this is actually going to be their accommodation for a little while. Because it takes a long time to build a big prison, and you've got to, but they're still going to arrive in 15 hours, whether you're ready or not. So let's have some beds down here like this, and maybe some showers. Like showers seem like a good idea. I know that it will flood the room with water, but I don't really care at this point. So here you go. Here comes all our guys installing everything.
That's great.
So while those guys are coming in, we actually did have a question of Daniel M. Tanos, one of our regular viewers now on the show, asked if you guys are going to be making more campaigns as it goes on, like more stories, essentially.
Go on, you answer that one.
Yeah, sure. As for the entire kind of previous 3 years, we've never committed to doing something because if we decide it's not going to work, we don't want to let people down.
Right.
So we are committed to continuing to update Prison Architect, but the updates that we deliver are going to be very much guided by how people react to what we've done.
Cool.
Now the campaign, the stories, I really enjoy them, but they're a lot of work. For not necessarily a huge amount of kind of bang for your buck, if you like. Once you've played through the story once, that's it. You've kind of played it. So to put in a story is, I don't know, probably going to take us a few months, of like the whole team kind of working on it. Whereas if you think about what we could do in terms of improving escape mode for a couple of months, there's a lot more.
That's the problem,
kind of-
isn't it? It's a one-shot thing.
Yeah.
The bang for buck is quite low, so we knew we needed a story to bring people into the game. But
Right.
then more story content will come at the expense of more sandbox and escape mode content, which has got much higher bang for buck, I think, because there's so many ways that you can play the game.
But I really enjoy story mode. It's one of my favourite parts of the game, and maybe.
So it's not out of the question, but
Yeah.
not in stone either.
Yeah, but nothing is.
Right.
That's the other thing. I talk about like the master work list, which we've still got, but there's not a kind of internal plan at Introversion that says we will do this next.
Right.
It's very much driven by what people play and kind of what they enjoy.
Yes, I'm just. The game's telling me that these toilets and showers need plumbing in. Obviously, they need water. So water is also done in the utilities view. So I've got my guys setting up the piping that's going to connect all this together. Now, most players figure this out, pretty early on because the game tells you need water out here. Otherwise these facilities aren't going to work. But what gamers often don't realise initially is that, well, anyone that's seen Shawshank Redemption will know that this enormous water pipe running right down the side of your holding cell is going to be an escape route one day. Because if you're digging an escape tunnel, and the same is true in escape mode, digging an escape tunnel along a fat pipe like that is much, much quicker. and it's just one of the considerations that new players don't often realize.
And that's actually one of my favorite parts. One of my favorite features of this game is the planning mode,
Right.
because I feel like you have that in other games similar to this, and base building games. I always do that, right? Where I build my basic base, and then like halfway through building it, I realize I've made some critical error in placement, or like one thing is one block off, and I just can't. Like everything is ruined, right?
Yeah.
And
So you mean this mode basically?
Yes,
where
I do.
You can free draw like this, and it just lets you plan things out.
and you're not building that stuff right
Yeah,
now. It's
yeah,
just
exactly.
like blueprinting.
It's like
basically, on
it's like
land.
sketching on the ground where you're
Yeah.
going to put everything, and you can put this here, and you can say I want doors here. A lot of people play at that. In fact, a lot of people play with the game paused in this mode. They pause the game and they lay everything out like this. It's very interesting. Different personality types that play these games. You know, it probably says something about you that you want to plan everything like that in advance.
Yeah, it
rather
probably
than-
does. Yeah.
Rather than building.
Was that zone colors as well, or like different for the planning mode?
That's my cheat modes.
Gotcha.
I'm running a top secret dev build here, so
Gotcha.
I can access all the cheat modes. Otherwise, we would still be playing escape mode, and I'd still be punching janitors,
Right.
trying to build up my reputation. You know? So things that bother me are like all this stacks of bricks lying around in here, like just lying around. So if I zone a little storage room outside, like this, my workman will just automatically get on in there and lift it all out. This is kind of like the Dwarf Fortress influence. There was something in Dwarf Fortress, because its difficulty curve was so horrendous.
That's one way to put it.
When you
yeah.
finally figured out how to zone something, and then your dwarves leapt into action, it was like, yes, I've affected the game world somehow. You know, I've had influence. All right, well, my first prisoners are here, and I haven't hired any guards, so I'd better hire some guards.
yeah.
There we go. So
Quick.
our first guards will take our prisoners into our holding cell that we just built.
You have such respectful prisoners that they're like, oh, there's no guards around here. I guess I'll hang out. You know.
They wouldn't have waited very long,
Right.
to be honest. And what a lot of people do now, that's a mistake, is they put a yard outside like this. Say, you have a yard, you know? And then at yard time, the prisoners are let out into the yard. And there's no outer fence. And then that's how we teach players that they need to build an outer fence.
It's a lot of learning by failing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the story mode, we actually run through, you know, the basics of
Yeah.
why it's a good idea to have a fence around a maximum security prison facility.
But also, I think it kind of shows you a little bit about the AI model. You know, the prisoners won't immediately just run off. It's a bit more complex than that. Their decision to escape will be based on a few factors, like how long they've got to serve and their kind of character type and all the rest of it. So it's not, there's a huge amount of depth that's gone into how the prisoners actually behave and respond to certain things, and they all respond in slightly different ways based on their own particular kind of characteristics. And I think that's part of why Prison Architect works so well. You know, if the prisoners just were all exactly the same, there wouldn't be much fun in this. You know, it's the fact that you do something and you might cater for kind of 60% of the prisoners within your prison, and then 2% will abuse whatever it is that you've put in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it such a kind of interesting game to play.
And this is all very like intentionally like gamey and cartoony, but at the same time, like, I remember you guys talking in your alpha video with gangs that you guys really look at like what real prisons do and like how gangs actually operated in prisons when you were looking to add that feature in. So there's a lot. Some of this is at least like based in the real world and how it functions.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had another benefit of being in development for 3 years is that a lot of our fans work in correctional facilities. You know, they're prison officers. We found out they like to be called, not guards. You know, and we've even had people who have been incarcerated get in touch. You know, with us and sort of talk to us about what works, what doesn't work. You know, a lot of it you could probably figure it out yourself. You know, but there are some really interesting subtleties. One of the things that I found out was that prisoners can kind of affect what cell they're in. If they don't like the cell they're in, they'll smash up the cell and they'll get moved to another one, you know? And so they can kind of affect where they are within the prison, you know, and where they are within a wing. And that's something that you might not have thought about from an outsider, you know, just thinking, you know, the prison guards have complete control over where a prisoner sleeps. But actually there's like an element of control that a prisoner can have over that. And, you know, we've sort of in places in the game kind of modeled that.
I love this little, like, they're all wearing yellow jackets. So it's just like a swarm of bees building this prison.
I hired a load of extra ones just to speed things up.
Yeah.
It was actually yard time for a while, and I had to lock this door so they didn't let the prisoners out. You know, it's like your own choice basically. So what you would typically do next? So obviously we have a bunch of prisoners here now. The next thing you would normally do is build like a canteen and a kitchen and start coping with their food needs, and then you would start building cell blocks for them to actually go and live in, you know, because your prisoners have all got a set of needs that's underpinning their behavior. And at the moment, we're doing okay because they've only just arrived. But you can see, so this is the needs of all your prisoners amalgamated in one display. So at the moment, they're very uncomfortable because they're just locked up in one cell, and they're starting to get hungry. And hungry prisoners is generally a recipe for disaster. But I think this is probably a good time, would you agree, to switch to a larger prison?
Yes, yeah.
Right, so, I mean, because this is kind of where it begins, but it might be better to show like what happens if you play for a bit longer.
No, definitely.
So if I go to load map, I've been favoring this one recently.
Now, the prisons that are in your alpha videos and stuff like that, did you guys build those, or
Some of them, but
because some of them
not
are
for a
these like
while.
beautiful, symmetrical, just incredible super complexes
Well,
like this,
Like
yeah.
this, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You zoom
Like
out,
this
and I'm
very
like, oh
prison.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is no, we didn't build this one because this one took 24 hours and 19 minutes to make
Oh my goodness.
of real time.
Yeah,
And
real time.
as we were discussing earlier when we were discussing MOBAs, you know,
Yeah.
there's only so much time between 4-year-old children and Prison Architect and Dark Souls that there is left in the world. So you know, this is what the uber fans of the game have managed to make. You know, this is a very successful, very good-looking prison that's actually very, very efficient and very effective. And it's the same starting point, you know. It's the same road at the entrance, the same opening rooms, but now it's just like a whole society in its own right, with a whole schedule. Yeah, it kind of is, isn't
I
it?
think it looks a bit like that when you
In
zoom
fact,
out.
even
the
more
cell
when you look in the
blocks.
utilities.
Oh yeah.
The cell
It's like
blocks
a
look
computer.
chips,
There's your
don't they?
electrical utilities, you know, and there's your water pipe utilities, and these are your escape tunnel routes. So you know everyone that's digging an escape tunnel is going to dig along these water pipes. Yeah, and there is actually an electrical wiring mode where you can. I mean, we've been developing a lot of systems for this game, and so this is the system that Mark hates because he thinks it's ridiculously over the top.
Yeah.
So this is essentially.
I think you went too far here. I don't think anyone. You can rewire this, right? If you don't.
No
Yeah,
way.
if you're
Oh my
not happy
God.
with those wires. you
Yeah,
can
it's for
unclip.
wiring up. I mean, he's using it here for CCTV. These are CCTV monitors. So there are guards here watching CCTV around your prison. And then in the utilities mode, you can see where those wires are connected. They're connected to cameras. Right? It's not that complicated. It's just not that. It's not that hard, you know. And
I love the back and forth here.
Yeah, yeah.
this guy here, this is a phone tap. So this guard is actually listening to inmates talking on these phones. There's no one there at the moment, but so phones are like. So if you put phones down, your prisoners will use them to arrange for contraband to be smuggled into the prison or be thrown over the outer walls. So listening to your prisoners having those discussions helps to get a hold of that and bring it under control.
Does that happen? Do like little citizens come from the outside and throw things over
They
the
do.
walls?
Exactly.
They do.
That's
yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, you never really see them, but that's why this prison has a huge outer wall.
Yeah.
That's why it has this huge double outer wall because it's too far to throw. So
Right.
You can't throw things over it, and there are guard dogs running here because guard dogs are very effective at finding escape tunnels.
Right.
And they can sense it. So if anyone tries to tunnel out, this guard dog who's just walking this patrol all day long will sniff the escape tunnel and detect it.
So have you ever broken out of this prison? Have you tried to?
No, I haven't
seem
actually, and
crazy.
it would be significantly harder than the one we demoed.
Yeah.
Because the guards here, I mean, there's dogs everywhere, and dogs are a nightmare, right? Although you all went, oh, earlier. No one's going to be saying that in escape mode, right?
Yeah.
Because dogs just come running right up to you and just tackle you. The guards they've all got tasers, and tasers are essentially a one-hit stun weapon that they can use, and they've all got body armor, which means they're really tough. So whoever built this prison made sensible decisions about what type of security to deploy. But if you try to escape from that prison later, it's going to come and bite you. You're going to feel it from a different point of view because you're going to feel this is brutally unfair. All the guards have got tasers.
With
And-
every system that we put in, we wanted it to have a cost, you know. So there's very little in Prison Architect which just looks nice, you know. But you take something like the telephones and the wiretap. The prisoners have a need for a family need, contact with home. So you think to yourself, okay, well, I'll stamp in a couple of phones because that will reduce that need. You think, oh, I'm going to do the nice thing. But then you get punished for doing the nice thing because some of the prisoners will use the phones to get the contraband turning up. And a big part of Prison Architect is you don't know that at the start. The tutorial doesn't explain it all to you because that would be boring. I mean, you can look on the wiki and it'll tell you everything, the pluses and minuses of everything within the game. But we kind of want the player to go through this exploration of what kind of a person they are in terms of how they would treat their own prison. So they think, oh, I'm going to be really nice now and put in a workshop, so that the prisoners are learning skills, so my reoffending rate will go down, so the prisoners are kind of happy and engaged. But then as soon as someone steals a kind of screwdriver or whatever and jams it into someone else's neck, and you get a game over event because you've had too many deaths, then what are you going to do next time? Are you going to think, oh, how can I deal with that? Oh, I know, metal detectors. Oh yeah, there are metal detectors within the game, And then you'll put metal detectors in there and realize that, hang on a second, why aren't my metal detectors working? And you realize they are. It's just that you haven't got any guards there paying attention, which again is like the real world. If a metal detector goes off, but there's nobody there to hear it going off, does it go off? I got a bit zen then, didn't I?
Whoa, man.
What's the answer to that?
We were just talking literally yesterday, about how morality systems in games can be kind of silly when you're in Mass Effect, you're given a choice between a Renegade or a Paragon thing, and because you haven't, example Wes gave was he had this option that was grayed out in one choice in Mass Effect 3 where it was the fix everything and everything will be okay choice, but since he wasn't 5% more of an asshole, he couldn't do it, and this is almost a similar thing where it's this morality choice, but it's has actual consequences on the way you're playing, not forced upon you.
That's right, and I think that Mass Effect system just drove you down a path. It was A/B, right?
Right.
And you only made one decision, right? Which was the first A/B decision, right? Am I going to be the good guy or the bad guy? And then almost everything that follows from that was natural, because you wouldn't be good, or I'll be bad for this decision, because you've played in a certain way. Whereas what we've tried to do is be a lot more subtle with that and really ask you to think. And what we hear kind of anecdotally from players is often they start out with the plan to be really nice, and then something bad happens and they just go darker and darker and darker, and they suddenly look up after a play session and they go, oh my God, what have I done? What have I become?
That's exciting.
And I kind of, we talk about this. We wonder if for real, real prison officers or wardens go through that same, that same path, or police officers.
I came in this morning with good intentions, but then I got beaten up in the morning.
Yeah.
And now I'm really angry, and I don't have good intentions anymore.
Yeah, that makes me wonder. I was going to say, this is the safest, I don't want to say that, safest version of, the Stanford prison experiment. And I'm wondering, how far this can go with players.
That's right.
And, what kind of feedback
that
you've
was
gotten.
very much like that, wasn't it? That they took ordinary people and made them run a prison, and they turned into monsters within a week, didn't they? Because the pressures on them were so horrible. It's like you are genuinely dealing with a no-win situation. Right? There is no perfect prison that you can build in Prison Architect. And as Mark was saying, this guy has a double workshop right here, where he's got all of his inmates working, which is almost universally good because his inmates are all picking up skills and they're learning trade skills and carpentry, but it's also a source of contraband. And we actually know this from escape mode earlier. Here's all the things that you could steal from the workshop laid out in the sandbox view of the same information. And obviously you don't have to search around. And so your prison is going to be flooded with all this contraband. And that forces you then to start searching your prisoners all the time and just repeatedly violating their rights. Whenever they come out the workshop, they get searched. That's the basic rule. And it's the only option you have, it forces you to think about to think about how you would respond in these scenarios, and anything that you try will have a consequence.
Well, it's just really kind of incredible to think about that, because this game, on the surface level, it's not trying to be this good and evil moral choice game, right?
No.
Yet you go through that.
That's right. That's
well,
exactly right.
We try and go the opposite direction. I mean, we're very specific right from the very start in the sandbox that we wouldn't be doing a kind of good and evil reckoning, and anything like that, because I don't think there is any such thing. You know,
It's just like, I mean, it's interesting for us as we've done this because I get Google alerts with prison and architect, right? Obviously, and there was recently a vote with the like the U.S. Confederation of Architects about whether or not they were going to not design any more prisons. You know, so they actually had like the architects had this kind of like meeting of all their members and said, we will ballot not to design any prisons. You know, because of some of the types of prisons that are being built were considered by the architects to be so inhumane that a small number of them called this kind of meeting to say we will, as a body, refuse to support this kind of inhumane activity. I think they voted to continue. You know, I think they voted like that they weren't going to be quite so draconian and say none of our members are to design any prisons. But that's the kind of, there are obviously people that feel so strongly about it that just even designing a prison, irrespective of what good you can do. And I'm sure that a lot of the architects designing prisons, we've never spoken to a prison architect actually. That would have been interesting to listen to their point of view, you know, about saying, well, if I don't do this, someone else is going to have to do it, you know, all of those kind of things. And, you know, asking, I mean, I remember going to prison in Ireland actually, and they were talking about the architecture of this, and it's quite unpleasant. But the original Victorian prisons that were kind of invented in the UK, the architecture was critical to this, right? The viewpoint held there. Firstly, they were considered humane because before that they were just all been thrown in pits, you know, everyone all hung, and so a prison, basically that was it. And so the prison was saying, no, we will reform these people, and there were these things like. They weren't allowed to look out of the walls, out of the windows rather. All of the windows are at 10-foot height, so you can never look out. You can only look up. And the idea was that you would look up to your maker, right, and thus reflect, right, on your bad moral character by looking up and out, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, they were designed in circles, and everyone was on the outside being watched from the inside, you know, and often
Panopticon.
Yeah, solitary confinement and a complete lack of social contact, but all wrapped up in if you believe it, a well-founded belief that they were trying to rehabilitate these people, you know, so rehabilitate them in a pretty brutal way, you know, but rehabilitate them nevertheless.
So when you guys started making Prison Architect, did you intend to make a game that had a level of social commentary on it?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
That was definitely my goal. My goal was not to be frivolous, and for not for my opinion or Chris's opinion to shine through. That was the other thing.
Right.
So in the early days, I was always saying to him, he was saying like, oh, I'm going to put in armed guards now. And I would always say, what are the consequences? You know, what are the consequences of putting armed guards in? Let's not. And for a long time, we'd been really heavy on punishment. You know, the punishment stuff had gone in first. And we knew we were always going to do it, you know, or I'd always wanted to do it. And then we started putting in the reform programs and all the other side of it, because I always wanted the game to be balanced, you know, and for the dinner party conversation of should we lock up more people, our sentences too lenient. You know, if you ever get a quiet dinner party, you can throw that question and almost guaranteed you're going to get a good discussion out of it.
Yeah, well, it makes people think, doesn't it? Because we had that conversation earlier today with someone who was saying that they thought that obviously most people would agree that we should try to reform prisoners. And we had to immediately think, well, actually, no. If you asked people that, maybe in a certain social circumstance, maybe people would say, yes, we should try to reform prisoners. But what if you asked the question, should we reform prisoners or should we build a new school and a hospital? Where would you like society's resources to be spent? That completely changes the response that you would get. But that was something that this person had never, I don't think, had considered. But by playing the game, you're being forced to consider that. Because if you want to run a massive, expansive foundation education program and train all your inmates up to college level, that's going to cost you a fortune. And you're not going to have that money available for security or guard dogs or any techniques to find escape tunnels or any drug rehab. You know, it's a choice of picking one or the other. And finding that balance is how we make the game itself not be a commentary, because it's up to you what you decide to do in your prison.
Yeah, and I think that, like, to me is the beauty of games as a medium is, I mean, you look at a documentary or a film or a book, there's usually an author with a limited, or, I don't know, a human's viewpoint kind of guiding the reader or whatever in a certain direction, or you're pointing a camera at something. This is like just systems, models, and a utilitarian, just kind of top-down viewpoint. It's not like, you have a film grain and it's dark and dreary.
Cinematic, 24 frames per second.
Yeah, it is what it is, and the message is the model.
You're right, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think the difference with gaming to the other mediums is choice. Yeah. Because when you watch a film and you go, yeah, okay, I think I've absorbed all that, But as soon as you start playing a game, you are asked to make a choice, and that's when you really start processing what you think, and what you've learned. Whereas, kind of the equivalent, I guess, would be watching a documentary on prisons. There's a great documentary about Prison Town. You were talking about this before, where the entire economy runs on it. And then like at school, you'd be asked to write an essay about that afterwards, because that's when you really start thinking about it. When you start thinking, what have I taken from that, and what am I going to write down? And that's what video games does so well. And we never. We're not like prison reformist agendaists or anything like that. We just think it's a rich topic and a really brilliant topic for video games to explore. And I think that that's definitely one of my kind of mission objectives for Prison Architect that we achieved. That you can't help but think, about the decisions. Chris shows you building the holding cell. You don't think about that. It's later. It's in the mid game. That you've really got to start thinking. And then in the end game, when you get to the, you didn't show like the grading screen.
The gradings,
like how you grade prisons and things on. Pull it up, mate.
Yeah, well, we grade every prisoner individually on their experiences within their prison. So you click on a random prisoner up here. This guy. Well, that was a good example. This guy. Anton Crazy Eyes Bull. He has his bio. He's one of our bio guys. So it tells you what he's in prison for and how long he has. He's still got a long time to go. You find out things about him. The reputation, he has nothing, but if you remember, that's the same as in the escape mode, where he just doesn't have any of them. And this is what he's done while he was in your prison. And we kind of summarize his whole experience within your prison into 4 categories, right? How much he has felt like he has been punished. And you can see, if you're interested there, the specific things that's graded on. So he has a high punishment score because he's been in prison for a long time, 7 years. And he's been suppressed for a third of his time there. Suppressed is an effect that prisoners get on them when they're surrounded by armed guards and overwhelming force. They feel suppressed. And it's obviously a very negative feeling. But counting against his punishment score is the fact that you've allowed him to have 48% of his time spent as free time. You liberal bastard. How dare you? So if you wanted to get that punishment to 10, you could have him be locked in his cell 23 hours a day. And that's how you would get punishment to 10. But it's only one score. The reform score, as you would imagine, is all about your attempts to reform them with education programs, drug rehabilitation, spiritual guidance programs. They're all options that you can run within the game. And the other scores, security represents how successfully you kept him under control while he was within your prison, whether he was involved in fights. So this guy has a good score because, well, suppressed counts as a positive in security, because if your prisoners are suppressed heavily, they're not causing trouble. And we've seen prisons where there are so many armed guards around that virtually every prisoner spends his whole time suppressed. Very, very secure facilities. But they score very badly on reform because prisoners can't participate in education programs when they're heavily suppressed and fearing for their life. And then health is a representation of whether they have any drug problems or alcohol problems, how fit and healthy they are, and so on. And then if you amalgamate that across the entire prison, you end up with your overall prison grading. And so this is the same 4 gradings, but averaged over every prisoner that's been released from your prison. So whenever they're released, either they succeed at their parole or they just serve their time. This prison has had 660 prisoners released, of which it says 183 were paroled early. So that's a pretty good success rate. This is a good prison overall. And so as a result of the fact that he has good punishment and reform scores, he has a low reoffending rate. It's the nearest we get in the game to a score screen. And the reoffending rate is essentially it's one of the primary metrics that you can grade the success of a prison on. But you can achieve a low reoffending rate with an absolute hellhole prison. A kind of Alcatraz, Supermax, armed guards everywhere, 23 hours a day locked in your cell, will give you a very high punishment score and therefore a very low reoffending rate.
And that's kind of also a very sort of impartial way of grading that and grading a success of your prison, because like, you know, everyone can debate very heavily on whether you think punishment is the way that prisoners should go or reform or whatever, but like everyone agrees that prisoners should not be committing crimes after they are released.
That's right. And I think even the most staunch kind of hardliner might crumple quite quickly if you said, but hang on a second, it costs us $200 a day to keep him in prison, you know, or however much it is. I don't know, I made that figure up. But even someone that said, you know, because it does
it's very
cost,
expensive.
It is expensive, you know, so even if someone said, no, lock him up, throw away the key, and it's like, okay, so what if I were to tell you that your taxes could be reduced, you know, because you are paying, you know, to keep this guy in prison? Does that change your mind? I think for some people it might do, you know, because it would be better if we could, you know, get them reformed and contributing, right? You know.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe we'll have loads of people saying no.
So no, reoffending rates for the win. We want our inmates to reoffend.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say, I do think you guys have done a very good job at keeping, and this might sound weird, but keeping your opinions out of it to a certain degree.
No, I understand exactly what you said, and I take that as great praise, actually, because it's one of the goals.
And I mean it. I mean it as that, because what you've done, in my eyes at least, is you've taken kind of yourself out of the equation so much that it doesn't even like feel like you might be trying to make a comment on prisons to a certain degree, you know, like, and that's why I asked, because at a certain point you are just creating these systems, and how they manifest themselves feels very natural, and it feels like maybe you aren't even meaning to like do that, and so I think kudos to you on getting that right.
Thanks for that. I mean, because the fear is that we've always been trying, but also have we subconsciously done something? You know, and like we come over here and we talk to you guys, you know, with different kind of cultural background to us, and say, what do you mean? This is like, you know, this is the Brits hammering the US prison system. You know, look at all of this. Look, you've done this, and this. You know, why? You know, so it's really pleasing for us that we haven't done anything, you know, inadvertently as well on that front.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about all the time we have, unfortunately. But thank you for giving us a look at the final build.
Mate. It's really good fun. I enjoyed the quiz.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for showing that off. Once again, Prison Architect will be out of early access next Tuesday, a week from today, which is exciting. So good luck on getting everything polished and ready. And whatever you come up with on the plane back over.
Going in update 1
2 days to go.
Thanks very much again to Chris DeLay and Mark Morris from Introversion Software joining us today, and James Davenport, our intern, of course. Once again, I've been Tom Marks, and thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back next Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, twitch.tv/PCGamer. So we'll see you then.